Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Racing Lights Productions, your home for sim racing. My name is Alex Layton. Welcome to the virtual Daytona International Speedway for the Online Motorsports Association's Virtual Racing Championship Battle at the Beach. Last week, we were right here at Daytona for the Daytona 250, and unfortunately, due to some issues on my end of the broadcast, we weren't able to get a quality broadcast out to you guys. We ended up having to call that broadcast short. Tonight, though, things should be much better. Taking a look here on the info screen, we've got on the right side the top 10 from last week's Daytona 250. Jarrett Talmadge was the race winner. We'll talk to him here in a little bit before we go green. But then second place was Zach King. Jonathan Amodio in third, Jolene Sims in fourth, Luca Mazzilli rounded out the top five, Austin Mongold in sixth, Jimmy Amos in seventh, one of, I believe, his best finishes in the OMA VRC. Then you have Thomas Green, Tyler Burden, and Justin Sipes rounded out the top 10 for last week's race. But tonight, much different race. We're going to do some right-handed turns as well as left-hand turns as we run through the Daytona road course, one of the most famous tracks here, not only on iRacing, but in the world, as it is host to the Rolex Daytona 24, as well as the Roar before the 24. They're going to be really exciting racing out on track. And to help me call tonight's race in the booth, joining me yet again is Keith Brubaker. And Keith, running around Daytona, you're a road guy, so you're more familiar with all that kind of stuff. What are some things to kind of look out for here at the Daytona road course? What are maybe going to be some tricky spots that we see drivers fight tonight?
I honestly think, like you're saying, I'm a road guy. I know in GT3, some of the trickier points on this track, which, according to some of the pace I've seen in practice this evening, it's going to be entry into that turn one, into the road course. And then even coming out of that road course, that's some tricky turns. And coming back onto the oval, if you can hit that wrong, you're going to mess up your lap times. And even going to the bus stop, they can go full speed. But if you hit one of those curves, you're going to be sent flying.
Yeah, I would completely agree. Getting into the infield is a tough spot. If you take a look, turn one, it's a really long braking zone. You have to get the car to rotate as well. These cars don't like to rotate under braking, so going to be hard to get that, especially lap one on the initial start, trying to get that car in around turn one. And I completely agree, coming out onto NASCAR one, that apron is incredibly slick. It doesn't matter what car you're in. You put on the gas a little too hard, you're going to slide. But let's go take a look real quick at our schedule for the season. You can take a look here. Last week we're at Daytona. Tonight we're at the road course, and then we're going to take a little break for the holiday season. Then we're going to be back on January 6th for Phoenix. Then we go to Michigan, dirt racing at Eldora, Charlotte, Homestead. Then we're going to go across the pond over to the Red Bull Ring, and then Pocono, Talladega round out the regular season. Then we get into the playoffs, which will be Darlington, Coda, Vegas, Atlanta, Dover, and then the championship race at Chicagoland, which was a great race last season. Don't expect it to be any different for this season. Taking a look at the driver's standings, top 12 make the playoffs, entire left-hand column. Currently are in the good, but again, it's just race one, so we're going to have a lot of shakeup. Some drivers not here tonight, or at least haven't registered quite yet. They've got a couple more minutes to get in, but that is a look at your point standings. Jarrett Talmadge is the current points leader. Now, looking at the team standings for this season, we've got Planet Sim Esports leads right now. They have an 8-point lead over No U Motorsports and McGinnis Motorsports. Last season's team championship winner, OCM Racing, sitting back in 5th place after the season opener. So, we have a little bit of time before we take the grid and everything like that, so we're going to go ahead and get in last week's race winner. We're going to get Jarrett Talmadge in here. Give me one just moment to get him into the booth with us. And so we have Jarrett Talmadge, driver of the 16, last week's race winner at the Daytona 250. Jarrett, do you have a copy?
Yeah, hi.
So Jarrett, last week, unfortunately, we didn't get to see the race on broadcast, but how'd you feel after the season opener for season 11?
Obviously pretty happy. I mean, I didn't expect to win it from obviously 12th on the last lap, but I don't know. It's Daytona. I think it have. It was pretty nice to get a win off. You know, I know it's not winning you're in, but you just gain that momentum and you can just carry it throughout the season.
Well, and the win definitely helps to get you into the playoffs. So last season, if I'm not mistaken, I believe you won 4 or 5 races. So just carrying that momentum that you had from season 10 into season 11. Looking forward to tonight. I know that there's been some complaints from drivers about the race setup, that it's not as snug as people would like it to be. But how are you feeling on track so far?
Like the setup or my driving talent on track? Which
just how
one?
you feel in the car tonight so far.
Absolutely horrible.
Oh, that is not what I like to hear, but hopefully things will turn around. Hopefully, once we get more cars on track and you can get into the rhythm, hopefully things settle in.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, it's just all going to be about keeping it out of the, I guess, tire barriers in turn 1 and off track and just keeping it on the track. But imagine if you just keep it clean, you'll probably end up with a top 10, and that's what I'm here to do. I know I don't have the speed to win this, like, Min Hang, Ike, or even Drew, but we're just here for a solid race and move on to Phoenix in, I don't know, 2-3 weeks time.
Well, hey, we'll see how you do tonight. First place in points still, so definitely that to look forward to. And we'll see how you do throughout tonight's race. Best of luck on track, Jarrett, and just make sure you keep those tires nice and easy on the first lap. That way you don't spin out.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. Good luck. All right, so that was Jarrett Talmadge. Sorry, just looking at something really quickly. So he was talking about how he's not feeling too great. And we had heard a couple drivers over the radio, Keith, talking about the setup just doesn't feel too great right now. And it's interesting because they've been using the same weather situation, everything like that, track conditions, everything has been identical to what they've used throughout practice. It just doesn't seem to be consistent. So what do you think is going to be one of the hardest things to fight tonight throughout this race? Or at least possibly even the initial opening laps?
I mean, honestly, like you even said in the YouTube chat, I think consistency, just making sure you hit those marks and making sure you keep your car clean. As you know, in most NASCAR races on oval, you want to stay consistent and clean, but I think it's going to be even more of an emphasis tonight because, like Jarrett was just saying, I think you're going to see, unfortunately, a lot of cars possibly wrecking out within the first couple of laps, trying to get those tires and brakes warm. So just making sure you hit your brakes and making sure you stay clean.
Yeah, in my opinion, I think the biggest thing is just trying to get into a rhythm, especially on that infield section, because it can be really challenging to kind of find your spots, especially on those initial laps when those tires are really cold, those brakes are cold. You got to get everything warmed up. And these next-gen cars do not work well on cold tires. They don't do great under cold brakes. They lock up very, very easily. So I would just, big thing, brake early. You want to brake... You want to brake early, give yourself time to be able to adjust, see what other drivers are doing. And if there's somebody that's pushing you real hard, let them by. You don't need to put in a fight that's going to cause more harm than good. That's my biggest opinion. You'll get it back over time. As the car settles in, it's going to get faster. But we are ready to go green as they're lining up on the field right now. Let's go take a look at our starting lineup here for tonight for the battle at the beach. On pole, we've got Min Hang. He ran a 1:45.4. Alongside him on the front row, Isaac Shelley, who's almost a half second slower. Tim Moore in third place with Tyler Burton alongside him. And rounding out the top 5, Jarrett Talmadge. So while he's saying he might not have a ton of pace, he is in the top 5. James Mendez will be in 6th place alongside him. Jolene Sims and JT Sipes are in row 4. Thomas Green and Brian Baker round out the top 10 here for tonight. Then in row 6, we've got Ryan McCall and Kyle England.
And then starting that next row, we got was it Lucas Mazzarelli and then Ryan Mineker. The following row is Christopher Lowell, Victor Mbasi, Noah Guilford, and then Drew Jewah, Brad Qualls, and then Jonathan Ahmed. And then to finish out the row, we got Jarrett Newton.
Very interesting to see that Drew Jewah did not get a lap in, but we'll have to see. Maybe he's going to work his way up through the field as we're getting moving here on the grid. And you can take a look, Min Hang there. He is your pole sitter. He was a dominant racer in the road courses last season. He was able to put up a good fight at both Watkins Glen, Long Beach, as well as, I'm trying to remember the other road course we went to, and for some reason it's just blanking on my mind. but he was drove very well. Road America, that's what it was. He drove very well at the road courses. Isaac Shelley also has done a fairly good job at the road courses. Drew as well. Jolene Sims, some of the drivers to kind of keep your eye out for as we go throughout tonight's race. No Eric O'Connor. He was the dominant force as he won 2 of the 3 road courses last season. But here we go, getting ready to go green flag racing as we come around to the front stretch. Benny, the pace car driver in the Porsche pace car, is going to be pulling it off into the pit lane. As you can see, Barney the flagman has that green flag out, ready to go. And Minhang is going to bring them around. Isaac Shelley alongside. It's going to be a fight into turn 1 as green flag is out. We are green flag racing at Daytona for the battle at the beach.
It does look like going in, it does look like that Jarrett Newt had a better start. It's to keep a couple of the drivers going wide. And like you were saying earlier, Alex, some of these drivers did look like they may have been on the brakes a little bit early, as you suggested, just to make sure
we got somebody sideways. Couple cars wrecking there coming out of turn 3.
Yeah, that's what looks like
that might be Tyler Burden, Brian Baker, and Victor Imbasiani all caught up in that one. We can go back and look at how that fell out there in a moment. But taking a look here, coming through into the Western Horseshoe battle for second place, Jared Thomas. Oh, big slide from Timur. What a save, though, as he's able to keep that one straight. It's going to heat up the tires a little bit, but it keeps him on track. He drops down to 6th place, but we are going to throw the caution here as the big wreck. I think Drew and Imbasiani also caught up. A huge wreck there for Drew Jewah. We will go back and see some of the incidents that brought out our first caution of tonight.
Yeah, that car is not looking happy. I believe that is going to be the number 4 car of Drew Jewah, I believe. And that's going to be very unfortunate for him, as that front of that car is a little bit important as we're going back to the replay.
This is what happened around turn 1. 3 wide there. Oh, yeah, the 06 gets turned around, and then it just bottlenecks through turn 3. Lots of cars moving around. Let's go back one more time. I want to see that. We're going to go on board here. This is with Kyle England, driver of the 35. And just look at this hornet's nest of cars coming through. And then you just see the smoke. Interesting to see some drivers just trying to go full for it. Just my opinion, you got to get on the brakes there. You can't just keep running that all the way through.
Yeah, especially when you see 3 wide in that sector. There's really nowhere to go. You're either in the wall or in the grass. So, like you were saying, Alex, be on those brakes. And unfortunately, as you can see, that I think yes, Drew may have had some damage prior, but I think he had some more damage from just going on the grass and may have messed up his front bumper, which is unfortunate for him.
Let's go take a look what brought out the caution. This is Drew Jewah. Oh, the car is already wrecked here. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think when he went off, he had some damage already. So it might have been.
They might have thrown the caution for that big wreck because it ruined a lot of the field. Yeah, I think that's what it might have been. As you can see, Drew gets sent off track. Lots of drivers all over the place here. And is Victor Imbasiani sliding around.
Yeah, you can see right there the fender of Drew Jewah's car is missing. So I think, like you were saying, I think it was just a late flag for that car, for that wreck there, I believe. Yeah, so it looks like Drew is just kind of getting around. Hopefully the pit stop's not going to be too long, that they can come back and recover from that. But that's an unfortunate start for this. And I wonder, maybe could a setup been playing, like we were discussing earlier, that they were complaining about the setup. And I know that was one of our key talking points, was that turn. Are we going to see chaos into that first turn until they get tires? Or is it going to be maybe, hey, some lap 1 nervousness? So I'll be very interested to see. I'm not sure about you, Alex, but it'll be interesting to see with the restart.
In my opinion, based on what we saw, it was just the turn 1, just craziness. I mean, that is a tough section. In my opinion, that is one of the hardest turns to make in all of iRacing. Just because, especially on the initial lap, it doesn't matter what car you're in, there's always going to be trouble because you can take it 3-4 different ways, as we saw drivers going 3 wide through turn 2, even into turn 3, and that's where things really got all bunched up, and with the cold tires, you got some drivers feeling confident, some wanting to take it easy, and as we saw, somebody just got caught in the rear. Even looked like maybe even the rear quarter panel. I think that was Baker. That's just going to cause you to slide around. Or sorry, that was Tyler Burden that got turned around in the 06. And then it just all kind of falls apart from there because there's nowhere to go in that corner. You are literally, it's like a street course. It's either you go into the wall or you go into the grass. But if you go into the grass, these cars are hard to get out of it. It's really putting yourself in a bad situation. But you know what? It is what it is. It's going to happen. The big thing, just getting in through these first couple corners, is patience. We're going to have to see how patient drivers are going to be. But now is going to be interesting because this race is going to be about maybe a two-stop race. How many drivers are we going to see come down pit lane? There's quite a few. I see James Mendez, Ryan McCall, Luca Mazzilli, Ryan Miniker, Jonathan Amodio, Brad Qualls, Brian Baker, Jared Newton, Tyler Burton, and Drew Jewah. Several of them coming in for damage repairs. Some may be checking for damage. Others might be coming down just to get a little splash of fuel to see if they can go an extra maybe lap or so. So we'll see what kind of strategy comes into play. But as we go through here through the lineup, you can kind of see top 10 is set with who is there right now on track.
Yeah, and looking down the timing charts here, it's unfortunate. It does look like we have lost 2 of our drivers. So unfortunately, that crash may have caused a little bit more chaos than we expected. And yeah, 2 drivers are Jarrett Newton and Kyle England. So unfortunately for them, but it's going to be interesting to see, like you were saying, some of those guys getting that extra splash of fuel. Is that going to be a big factor as we see Min Hang decide, hey, I'm going to stay in the front of the pack?
Yeah, track position is going to be huge here through the opening laps as we get things settled out. And the big thing is just, again, like we said during the pre-race, trying to get those tire temps up, try to get that car settled, because as we saw, even like Tim Moore had trouble here around the Western Horseshoe, trying to get that car to rotate, slides just a bit too much, and that causes his back end to kick out. So again, these cars on cold tires are not easy to drive. They have a lot of trouble. Once you get them up to temp, though, they're not bad, and you'll see a lot of drivers when they come down for the pit stops. They're probably just going to take fuel only, because we're not going to really need tires unless like you feel like it's really starting to go on you. I wouldn't be surprised if we maybe see a couple drivers take tires for one of the stops, but in most cases when it comes to road courses, you don't take drivers because it just takes too long for these tires to come up to temp.
Yeah, and I'm not sure, I'm seeing something in the chat that they're saying about the fuel runs about 21 laps. I'm not sure how valid that is or not, but I'll be very curious to see, like you were saying, these guys going in for maybe 1 or 2 extra laps, that not just the fuel, but the tire runs and everything like that, being that these are a little bit harsher on the tires with taking the turns and taking heavy braking zones. So 21 laps is when I'm going to try to keep an eye out for possible pits.
Well, and the nice thing, because we're under caution, you're going to have the drivers, they're going to be clutching, getting off throttle, running in a higher gear to try and save fuel. So they're going to be able to stretch that a little bit, but it's still going to be a 2-stop race. But then comes the question, and we saw this a little bit throughout the chat throughout the week. What is your strategy going to be? Initially, this race was scheduled as a 35-lap race, which really didn't put a lot of strategy into it. It was going to be come down, get your splash, and go to the end of the race. You're not going to need a ton of fuel because you're not going to need a full fuel run for that end. But with this, you're going to need 2 full fuel runs and then a splash at the end. So do you take tires for the last run? Do you take tires on the first stop? Do you take tires at all? What are you going to feel comfortable with? What is the wear going to be? It's going to be a big strategy call trying to figure out what you want to do, what's going to be best for each driver. And like I said, some drivers more comfortable taking tires. Me personally, with this car on road courses, I do not like taking tires because it takes too long to get the car comfortable.
Yeah, indeed, and that's especially like you were saying, this is going to be how fast can you heat up these tires, especially taking some of the right turns, not those left turns. So tires are going to be a huge factor, as it does look like we're going to go on another time, and things shall be interesting getting ready to get all these drivers back. Maybe a lap or 2 behind, but we're getting ready to go green, I believe, shortly.
Yep, lights are off on the pace car, so we're going to double them up, and then we're going to go green flag racing this next time around. But taking a look at the schedule for the next couple of weeks, again, we are going to be off the next 2 Saturdays. We are going to be on the holiday break for these drivers. Then we'll be back January 6th at Phoenix International Raceway. And then we will be going to Michigan and then Eldora for some dirt racing. It'll be the first time, at least since we've been broadcasting the OMA VRC, that we're going to hit the dirt. And it'll be interesting to see how these drivers handle that. Some drivers maybe not as comfortable at dirt racing. So we might see somebody who's like a dirt ringer come out of the surface and have some strong running. It'll be interesting to see how that race plays out and just kind of how things go, because that track, we've seen these cars on Bristol dirt. Now that track is a dirt track, but it's not really a dirt track at the same time. But Eldora is a specific dirt track, so it'll be interesting to see how those drivers handle a real dirt track as opposed to a paved track that you throw dirt on, I guess is the best way to put that.
Yeah, and if, I mean, real life Daytona, if anything like that happens, it'll be very interesting to see, especially, like Alex was saying, we might see somebody who's a master in dirt. We might see some of the drivers that struggle maybe on a road course show up. So it'll be very interesting to see to throw that little wrench into the system.
Yeah, and another race, taking a look at just kind of peeking the schedule, that I think is going to be interesting is going to be Red Bull Ring. It's a really, really fun track for those of you that haven't watched Red Bull Ring before. But we haven't seen, or I haven't seen, these next-gen cars at the Red Bull Ring. It's going to be interesting because you've got a wide mix of high-speed corners as well as some really tight hairpins. Like you come up the hill, you've got turn 3, I believe it's turn 3 or turn 2, whatever it is, at the end of the long straight there out of turn 1. And you're going uphill, making a 90-degree right-hander. These cars, they're going to struggle with that. That's for sure, because they struggle with turn 2 out of Sonoma, where you're making an uphill right-hander. So we'll see how these cars handle that. They've got some good high-speed sections. Those last 2 corners around the track coming downhill, they're fast. You've really got to time that well. So it's going to be really fun to see how these cars drive at Red Bull Ring at the end of January as well.
And those lap times, at least in like your GT3 cars, are basically minute and a half. So if corresponds over, it's going to be really fast, fun laps. So going up that first hill is going to be interesting as we're getting ready to wrap around. We're getting ready to go into the front straight. So that safety car should be plowing off shortly as we are double filing up and getting ready to restart this race shortly.
Yep, we are going to go green flag racing yet again here momentarily. And it looks like everybody going to be bunched up. Yeah, we got a couple drivers trying to pull back up to the field. A lot of drivers coming in on the pit stop, so they're going to be on the end of the longest line. But here we go from the drone cam on the front stretch. Min Hang going to take the green. He's going to be in control of the field now, as he's going to take us through the Geico restart zone. And then we're going to go green flag racing yet again. Here we go, take number 2 for the day, for the battle at the beach here at Daytona Road Course. And Isaac Shelley gave him a very good bump to get him going into turn 1. As you see, all the way 3 wide, several spots coming through turns 1 and 2. And it looks like we might survive this time. Still 2x2 at different parts. Oh, that is the number 17 sideways. That is Christopher Lull. But thankfully, he's the only one involved. He's going to drop behind in the field. But thankfully, we stay green flag racing.
Yeah, speaking of green flag racing, we did see a little bit of lockup, so thankfully none of that resulted in yellow flags, but we are getting some good racing as it does look like some of these drivers are starting to find their way as we just jumped on board with Thomas Green, who just made a very nice overtake, and it looks like he might be getting challenged right behind by Justin Spice. So anything is possible, especially with these colder tires, and some of these drivers, I know they were complaining earlier about not knowing the track as well with these cars, and those look like there's a car in the back that unfortunately made a big mistake. I'm not sure if we can get back there to see who made that mistake, but it's been some good racing otherwise.
That was the one of Brian Baker sliding back behind. You saw the 69 of Tim Moore as well, getting a little slidey there around the Western Horseshoe. Yet again, he's having trouble with that spot, but you can take a look in the top right corner of your screen. You're going to see the track map, so you can see where all of the drivers are on track. It is set by their car number, so you can see where everyone is as we come through the bus stop. And man, side-by-side racing in some spots. Drew taking a little bit of a shortcut there through the grass. That's an interesting choice. But we go green flag, and that is a 48 of Luca Mazzilli, a little behind there. Might have gotten caught in the grass or maybe a little bit of a slide, but we've got almost 3 wide racing up here. This is Drew Jewah. It is Tyler Burden and Victor Imbasciani battling it out for 8th place. Drew has a slowdown penalty. You see him dropping behind. So Tyler Burden and Victor Imbasciani battling it out for 8th place.
Yeah, and unfortunately when he did that move is outside of the track. So unfortunately that was a silly little move, as much as it may have been protecting the cars. We're starting to get some of that some of the traffic right now. As you can see, that's not lap traffic, that's the front pack here. So we're currently sitting on board with the 06, and a lot of locking up going into that turn. So it looks like these tires may not be quite up to temperature, but looks like some of these drivers are starting to maybe find a little bit of pace after that, quick first lap. But they're getting comfortable, and I think we're going to start getting comfortable in this booth to watch some good racing.
Yeah, the big thing, like we said, is just trying to get these tires up to temperature is gonna be what takes time. As we see side by side, James Mendez in the 92, Victor Imbasciani in the 15. They come through the Western Horseshoe, going to go back on to the NASCAR Oval. Four-car battle here for 9th place, as you see Drew getting all over the back bumper of the Megadez Motorsports driver. And then you got Ryan McCall waiting for an opportunity a little bit further behind, as Drew's going to be on the bottom through the oval. And it's going to be Drew's position to take, but we'll see. Will Victor Imbasciani be brave enough to go late on the brakes to try and jump the position here to hold on to that top 10?
Yeah, indeed. And we're getting to that section where you got to be comfortable with your car, because this bus stop, you have to brake a little bit, but you have to make sure you be on the gas. And right there, that's exactly how you take it. You want to eat that curb and continue to stick on that curb. And if you can exit out of it, you can get a great boost, like you're seeing right here with Drew Jewah, as he's taking the underside lane and is probably going to get out of this advantage and be right in front ahead of that number 92 car.
That's a good run there by Drew Jewah. He gets himself around James Mendez, as he had a really good run through the bus stop there. Taking a look a little bit further ahead, though. Oh, that is Jared Talmadge, Jolene Sims off in turn 1. Looks like contact might have been made between the two of them, as now Jolene trying to keep the car on track side by side as we go through the International Horseshoe. You've got a 4-car, 5-car fight here for 2nd place. Min Hang looking at the rearview mirror, having a little bit of a smile on his face, I'm sure, as that gap is now 3 seconds. He's built himself a nice, comfortable lead as things bunching up further behind, as 5 cars here battling it out for 2nd place.
Yeah, indeed, and this battle is I think you're saying Min Hang's got to be loving sitting up there with this battle right behind, but it does look like Jolene Sims is starting to maybe find that flow, and maybe some of the drivers behind, like the number 16, Talmadge, or even that 3-car Greenie, is going to maybe not be in that pace. But we are coming into one of that tricky sections where if you come onto this the wrong way, you're not going to have the pace, and it does look like Talmadge may not have entered as well as Sims, because Sims already has a decent lap gap. But even right behind the number 3 car, and I believe that's the number 98 car, are going to be having, so that's 55 car, are going to be right on top of each other, and the bump trap does come into play here. So if you come out of that right, you could very much make a position.
Yeah, Jolene Sims seems to be pulling away here from the rest of the field a little bit. She's got, like we said, she's one of the really strong road course drivers here in the OMA VRC. Jared Talmadge trying to keep up. He's got what is on the timing tower as the 55 of Justin Sipes behind, but he is the 99 on track. So we'll have to see about getting that fixed for next week. And then Isaac Shelley, I think he had a little bit of a mistake earlier that dropped him from the top 3. He's in 6th place trying to see if he can hold on. But this battle that we had going on looks like it is spreading out. But don't be surprised to see if Isaac Shelley tries to make a move on sites. A lot of these drivers very familiar with how they run each other on the road courses, as we've seen all of these drivers that are up here in the top 7 really get the elbows out on road courses before. I believe it was Jared Talmadge and Isaac Shelley at Watkins Glen. Both had a little bit of an issue where they got into each other, made contact, and had wrecked each other coming around the carousel. So there is some history between some of these drivers when it comes to road courses up here.
Yeah, and that was a very nice move by Isaac Shelley there. So his tires might be up to temperature, because you do see a little bit of lockup from the other cars around him. But as we're talking about movements, you're going to see the 21 and the 8 car and Minker just going into that, rather, I would say, one of the more trickier turns on this track. And we said the first one's tricky. That right there is, I would say, is as tricky. So it does look like that 21 car did make a nice move, and maybe it's finding some pace as we're going into even another one of the trickier turns. So this infield, I would say, is probably one of the more trickier tracks to do in period on iRacing, but even more so in one of these NASCARs. I don't know about you, Alex, but I think so.
Yeah, Noah Galliard, I will say he made a really good move there to get himself up to 13th. He's pulling away from Ryan Miniker here, and now pretty comfortable. And it's interesting to see Noah Galliard, one of those drivers, he had mentioned in the driver chat that he was he didn't really get a lot of practice this week. He only got some practice today, and one thing he had mentioned, one strategy he was going to use was making sure he stays out of first gear. These cars, you get into first gear, you really have to have throttle control because it'll slide very, very easily. So keeping in second gear, not only going to help save the tires, but it'll definitely give you some assistance when it comes to just keeping control of the car. But a little bit of a mistake there through the bus stop is going to cause him to have to slow down, serve some time penalty there. So that's going to drop him back behind Ryan Miniker. We'll see if he's going to be able to catch that back up as we tune in back to the front. Jared Talmadge holding off Isaac Shelley. And Isaac Shelley, he is making a run back to the podium.
Yeah, indeed he is. And you've even seen Shelley make some rather aggressive moves that have been very successful. So I'll be very curious to see. Isaac does seem like he's a little bit more comfortable on this track. So I'll be curious to see is that number 3, or that car in front of him, going to be able to be as quick on some of these turns as we're seeing. He's just kind of staying back and enjoying that draft. But the battling on this track, I don't know about you, Alex, but I'm hopeful it's going to be as good as this because, you know, these are good drivers and driving very difficult cars. I mean, the track's difficult for the cars, so it'll be interesting to see as it does look like there's a little bit of mistake from Talmadge up there.
Yeah, we've seen Isaac Shelley. He's just being patient, waiting for his opportunity. Doesn't want to push anything too early because you don't want to make a mistake that ends up either compromising your race or somebody else's. As you see, he's going to pull around the 16 as it's going to be him down the backstretch going into the bus stop. And he should be able to pull away here from Talmadge. You can see Talmadge going to brake a little bit early just to be safe. That's going to allow Thomas Green to get into this fight a little bit, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see Isaac Shelley start to pull away. But the interesting thing, taking a look at this gap here between him and Jolene Sims now is about 2 seconds, and now through the bus stop has gained himself almost a full second.
Yeah, that bus stop is a big factor on not just for NASCAR, but the track in general. So if you can hit that quickly, you can gain a second, as you can see, as it does look like we're jumping back to the 6th and 7th battle right here, and bump drafting each track. And speaking of the bump draft, we're going into a turn where bump drafting isn't as important. It's just more hitting your brakes. And you see right there, unfortunately, that mistake is going to cause, I believe that's going to be a Spider's position. And unfortunately, he's going to get that position lost.
Yeah, Tyler Burton able to take advantage of the mistake from JT Sipes. Sipes going to try and recover that. He's got plenty of time, though. Might be able to make it happen. He's had some good pace. It's just a couple of mistakes here and there has been really hurting him. So we'll see if he's able to lock that in. But the big thing, trying to see if he can cool down the tires over the next couple of laps. Tyler Burton, while he might not be the fastest, been very consistent. Ran a 1:46.7 that last lap. That is comparable to that of the race leaders. So he's definitely got pace. We'll see if he can lock that in. But looking a little bit further behind, Tim Moore, while he is not the best road driver, and he will be the first person to tell you that, he's definitely holding on pretty well. 8th place right now. He's got teammate Drew Jewah knocking on his door. I wouldn't be surprised if he just says, yeah, Tim, you can take it. You've got the car. You're going to go for the battle. He's going to try and pick his battles. Doesn't want to hold his teammate up here. But it's still very early in this race, lap 10. And for just as a reminder, we take stage points at the halfway point. So it'll be lap 28 is when we take the stage points. Again, that'll be top 10 drivers are awarded points based on position. And then there will be no caution, just like any other race. We don't do a caution for the stage break. We just keep on rolling. And so Tim Moore going to pass around Drew Jewah there. He's going to move on up. Or sorry, other way around. Sorry, Drew Jewah going to pass around Tim Moore. That's going to move him on up into 8th place. But still, Tim Moore doing a very good job. And as we were saying, Tyler Burton being very consistent, makes a mistake there through turn 1. Going to allow JT Sipes to get back in this battle.
Yeah, and these battles that come into these turns, really the heavy overtaking positions are going to be in this inside of the road course. And if you make mistakes, you're just going to get punished, unfortunately. And you were saying that Tyler's been very consistent, so that mistake may have been penalized, unfortunately, as we're seeing him just try to get Burton slowly getting ahead. But it does look like Spites is still right on top of him. But mistakes, especially in this short sector, can be punished. And you could even see a couple of the drivers are starting to catch up with this pack. So unfortunately, those mistakes are in fact adding up.
Well, we have somebody off in the International Horseshoe again. I think it was Noma Galliard. got a little off there. But so far, you can see the battle is kind of spreading out a little bit. We've got a four-way car battle for 6th place between Tyler Burton, JT Sipes, Drew Jewah, and Tim Moore. But don't be surprised to see if Drew works his way around Burton here soon. Up in front, you can see as they go into the bus stop, Jared Talmadge and Thomas Green battling for 4th. And then while they're still kind of far apart from each other, Jolene Sims and Isaac Shelley are slowly coming together. Jolene Sims losing time on Shelley here. He's really kind of staying consistent with Min Hang. Actually, Isaac Shelley just set the fastest lap of the race. A fun little fact there.
Yeah, and that's so you can show just the comforts of this track. If you're a good road racer, you're going to be pretty good on here. And Shelley is showing that he's a good racer. As we're currently looking at the battle, I believe this is going to be the battle for 4th, as I believe that is Christian Lowell. So Christian is going to be battling Noah McLawler. And going into the bus stop, it does look like that Lowell may have had to back off a little bit. So unfortunately, that battle, for the moment, is over. But it does look like that, who is up? It's Ahmed, is going to be right behind. So that mistake may have cost it Lowell a little bit of time for that 21 car is catching up.
Yeah, Noah McGallard able to pull away a little bit there out of the bus stop. Had a really good trip through it. But the big thing is he's had trouble here through the infield section of the track. So we'll see if Christopher Law is going to be able to gain time on him. But it seems like they're nice and smooth there for the 21 car. Jonathan Modio trying to see if he can get into this fight as well. He was getting close there to Christopher Law, but then loses a little bit of time into turn 1. Maybe not as comfortable as Law. Big lockup there from McGallard, and this is where, oh man, Christopher Law gets a huge lockup as well. That's going to allow Modio to close up the gap. He's going to see if he can jump up to 15th place as they come through the kink. Can he keep up the pace, maybe make a move through the Western Horseshoe? Or is he going to wait to try and make a move into the bus stop? Plenty of time, though, as he goes early on the brakes. It's going to give him a little bit of comfort space. Slow in, fast out, like we've been saying, is kind of the key. As McGallard runs wide there, again, he is struggling through this infield section as he starts to pull away again from Low. We're now going back to NASCAR 1, and these cars only about a second from each other, from 14th back to 16th. And, oh, that is a big slide for McGallard. Going to be able to save it, but those rears definitely going to get heated up.
Yeah, indeed. And again, we talked about at the beginning of this race, that right there, you can see Christopher Lowe took advantage of Noah McGallard's mistake, and is right on top of him. And it even looks like he's going to go right beside him going into the bus stop. So someone's going to have to be later on the brakes, as it does look like Christian is going to be able to take advantage of that, and is going to be able to take that position.
Oh, snap. That is McGallard sideways. So he's out of that battle there. He took a very defensive line into the bus stop, and it ended up kind of hurting him because he had to push the car really wide there. Didn't really get a good entry on it. But taking a look, this is a battle for second place. Isaac Shelley into the right side there. Jolene Sims into the Western Horseshoe. A little bit of contact sliding as he comes through. It's going to be side by side still as they get ready to go back around onto NASCAR 1. It's going to be Jolene Sims getting the advantage. We'll see if Isaac Shelley's going to have a bit of an extra pace on the exit. But it looks like Jolene Sims is going to be able to pull ahead here. She's going to have about a half a second gap as they go in through NASCAR 1 and 2. And man, that was a big move from Shelley. Unfortunately, couldn't get it done. If he didn't get understeer there through the Western Horseshoe, I think he would have been in second place.
I do agree as well, but unfortunately that horseshoe is a very interesting thing to do. We've come through another fast sector of the bus stop, which it does look like Sims is making that look like easy, and it does look like Shelley's also right on top. So unfortunately, little mistake, and the battle for second is a little bit more of a gap than it was a battle.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. Isaac Shelley has gained a lot of time on Jolene Sims. You can even look across the course of the last couple of laps here. It's been a lot of time gained for Isaac Shelley. He's been gaining anywhere between about a half second to 3/4 of a second a lap as he makes a big move into turn 1. He's going to be side by side with her. He pulls ahead. That is P2 for the 98. What a pass he just made on Jolene Sims.
Yeah, indeed, and that was a very daring move. So I think Shelley's probably getting very comfortable with that car. As Jolene Sims almost spins a little bit and slides into that corner. As you were saying earlier, Alex, slow in, fast out, and that's unfortunate. I think Jolene Sims may have pushed the limits a little too hard, but fortunately was able to save that car. Is maybe a little shaken from that nice move by Shelley.
Yeah, the big thing too, it seems like maybe she heated up the rears a little bit, because you can see even a couple spots, she's getting a little bit of slide a little bit here and there. So we'll see if she's able to get those tires cooled back down and just get back into the groove of things, because she was running really, really well, had some great pace. And we've seen this from her at the road courses. She has really good pace, one of the top drivers, but sometimes it's just the consistency long term seems to drop off a little bit as the run goes, depending on the track, and maybe that's what we're having here at Daytona. But we're going to be coming around for pit stops probably within the next, I'd say, 10 laps or so. So we'll see kind of what strategies are, maybe a quick little refresh on the mind, but Jolene Sims settling in third place right now, Isaac Shelley second, and then we haven't checked in with him in quite some time, but there is Min Hang, your race leader, driver of the number 2 for McGinnis Motorsports. He has himself a 6-second gap right now. We'll see if he can continue to build that lead, but he can take a look over the past couple laps. It has been a pretty steady gain for him, about a half second or so a lap. That last lap gained about a quarter of a second over Isaac Shelley. So we'll see if Isaac Shelley is going to be able to close up that gap, but Min Hang feeling really comfortable so far, and this is what we saw from Watkins Glen from him as well. So just getting into the groove, checking out, and just running his race.
Yeah, and you're speaking about pit stop strategies. With Min Hang having such a large gap, I'll be very interested to see, does he maybe take a little bit of a risk? As you see, lockups going in to the horseshoe here, as that's going to be, I believe that is the burden. So unfortunately, mistakes, but does it look like Greeny is still going to be making a mistake as well. So that battle is going to continue. But these battles on track are everywhere. And going back to what I was saying, I'll be curious to see, does Hang maybe take a risk and go for an earlier pit stop?
Yeah, that's going to be the question, is do we see drivers take undercuts? Do you want to try and make a move to get yourself out of traffic, get some clean air? So we'll have to see kind of what the strategies are. But Tyler Burden still trying to hunt down Thomas Green. You've got behind Drew Jewah still there. He's got about a second to gain, but he's slowly closing up that gap. And then you got Tim Moore, JT Sipes further behind. And actually, they're getting into a good fight here as they go side by side around NASCAR 1 and 2. And it looks like it's going to be JT Sipes down to the backstretch, but will Tim try to make a move into the bus stop? JT Sipes clear. Looks like Tim's going to break a little bit earlier just to try and give himself some space. He makes a move here. A big lockup as it might maybe push it a little too hard through the first part of the bus stop, but it looks like he's going to try and go around the outside of JT Sipes.
Yeah, and unfortunately, mistakes are going to be big factors. This battle is still commencing through some of the faster section of this track, which is the oval. So does look like Moore was able to take advantage of a mistake by Snipes, but we are going into a sector where braking is something that could make a mistake happen. And so as we're going into that sector, does Snipes maybe try to go for a dive bomb? But it does not look like it, as Moore is going to be on that optimal line going into the infield.
But definitely a huge gap to try and make a dive bomb there. You definitely don't want to do it from about 3 car lengths back, as you can see going into the International Horseshoe. Tim just able to rotate that car really, really well. For somebody who doesn't like road course racing, he's definitely doing a fairly good job here tonight. While he is 21 seconds off the race lead, he still has himself in the top 10 position. So definitely not a bad spot to be. Now, the one thing for Tim, while we're watching him, last season was the first season, I believe, in all of his OMA VRC career that he did not have a race win. He came close several times, put himself in the position to be throughout many different races, just never could get into victory lane at the end. The closest I think he got was, well, there was 2 times that he had himself right there, ready to go into victory lane, but then something happened that caused him not to get there. Where there was Las Vegas, where Drew just had the better car towards the end of the run, or I believe it was Jewah, I can't remember who, but he just ended up losing it right there at the tail end of the race. And then there was the new Atlanta race. He had himself in first place. They actually were set up for an OCM 1, 2, 3. And then Tim got a little greedy, trying to go, it was his 100th start, trying to get the race win, wanted to make it a memorable one, and ends up taking out his entire team off the podium through turns 3 and 4 on the white flag. So Tim is definitely hungry for a win here in Season 11, doesn't want to continue that winless streak, but we'll see how he does. Tonight's not going to be his night, he knows that, but we'll see going into Phoenix and some of the other tracks if he's going to be able to get himself into victory lane.
Yeah, and victory lane is still way far ahead right now for this race, but we are still seeing, you know, these guys starting to find their grooves a little bit. And you were saying, Alex, we got to start maybe keeping a slight eye out for possible pits, but we're just seeing some moves right here. And I believe that is Green making a move on Burden, and it was a pretty easy overtake. But we are going into sectors that maybe those moves may not be the smartest thing. But even behind you see, I believe that's Jewah even back there trying to make some moves. So we're going in through some good battling in the infield, and we're going over into getting ready to go into Oval 1, so the NASCAR Oval, which looks like Burden is Green's making it look easy.
Yeah, the Green had a big push of understeer there, getting onto NASCAR 1. You can see he's pushing really wide. He's going to try and maximize the pace by running the middle lane. That's going to keep him ahead of Tyler Burden. Jewah waiting back there, though. This is the battle for 5th place as we go into the bus stop. We're on board with Thomas Green in the 3 car as he's going to be able to get clear of Tyler Burden. And, ooh, Burden getting very close through the bus stop. That's going to allow Jewah to have an opportunity to maybe get in here. 4-way car now fight for 4th place as they close up on Jarrett Talmadge. And his fight has been going on all race long. It has been getting very, very close. Don't be surprised to see Drew make a move into turn 1. I wouldn't be surprised to see him make the dive on Tyler Burden because he's getting quite comfortable in that 4 car.
Yeah, indeed. It even looks like this battle is going to be for some even more higher points, as it does look like Talmadge is going to try to go for a move, but Greeny does lock out that move, and Burden's even getting right there, and Drew is probably loving it as well, because Drew's not getting involved going into almost 3 wide into the infield, but it does look like Talmadge is going to be held behind at the moment, but anything is possible as we're going into some more faster turns. It does look like mistake behind by Burden, and Jewah is unfortunately not able to take advantage of said mistake, but Greeny is unfortunately going to lose out in that battle, and Talmadge is going to take advantage.
And Talmadge going to hold, oh my gosh, Talmadge, huge lock up into the Western Horseshoe. He's going to be off track there. That's going to allow Thomas Green to pull ahead there. 4th place for him. Tyler Burden going to be behind. Drew Jewah now moves up to 6th place. And Tim Moore back there probably is like, okay, we'll maybe should be able to capitalize on this because now the 16 going to be fighting tires. And we see Thomas Green again. Last lap, he did the same exact thing. Getting a little squirrely, getting onto NASCAR 1. We see him having some trouble there as well. But now we're starting to see some drivers come down pit road. Ryan McCall, the first one in that 90 car to come down pit lane.
Yeah, and maybe right there, that unfortunate little lockup from Green may just have been the tire starting to fall off, as we have seen a couple of lockups through the infield for him. So he maybe is going to start thinking about, hey, I need to come in and change my tires out. But we're still seeing that Burden battle between him and we're going into some of the more faster section of the track.
You can see they're getting closer and closer. That draft definitely helping out the drivers behind of Burden and Jewah. But as we get ready to go into turn 1, still, I don't think it's close enough for Burden to make a move. But he's definitely going to be able to make a move into the horseshoe. Oh, never mind. Lock up from both drivers. And that's going to allow Burden to get to the inside. Big move by Tyler Burden to get up to 4th place. He sends it deep into turn 1. It pays off. The very risky move. It benefits him. Drew Jewah still waiting very patiently. Very interesting to see that Drew hasn't capitalized on any of these mistakes. He's had opportunities to try and jump somebody, but just is kind of waiting out, kind of seeing how this all plays out from 6th place right now.
Yeah, and I wonder, maybe is Drew playing some of the mind games, and maybe not right there with the lockup, but I'd be curious to see. I was going to say maybe Drew is trying to save those tires, but unfortunately I think that strategy may have just been thrown out the window with that lockup, and maybe that pit stop strategy is going to start coming into play for that battle, unfortunately.
As we come back onto NASCAR 1, it's going to be a nice smooth entry there for Thomas Green. So we'll see if he's going to be able to catch up to Tyler Burden. You can see that gap closing a little bit. So we'll see if he's going to maybe be able to catch up getting back into NASCAR 1. Wouldn't be surprised to see him try and make a move into turn 1, similar to what we saw from Burden, to be able to jump him on that spot. As we look throughout the track, a couple battles going on. Another one that's fairly close is Jonathan Amodio and Christopher Law. That is the battle for 13th. Then we got Jared Newton and Ryan McCall as Ryan McCall rejoined on track back in 17th in that 90 machine.
Yeah, no, we've been focusing on this battle so much because it's been a good battle, but there's been other good battles on track, and like you were saying, we're looking back at 17th and 18th, so this battling on the track, I think, has been some of the better battling as we just jump back to the back of this battle as we're going into that first turn into the horseshoe, but we're sitting on board, I believe, with McCall, and like, oh, it doesn't look like Newton's got some damage. I'd be very curious to see if we can find where that damage is. So Newton's gonna probably be right, exactly what I say. He's probably gonna get overtake going into the oval with that front fender damage. So his pit stop strategy might have been changed a little bit, but it does look like he is still sticking with the battle. So good on Newton for battling out with that damage.
Yeah, Newton's been having some trouble. You can see Ryan Miniker up there in front of them as well. But here comes Ryan McCall. He's going to try and take it down on the inside into the bus stop. He's going to be able to clear Newton. We'll see if he's going to be able to get around Miniker. Miniker's still up a little bit further ahead, but the battle for 15th. They have to keep in mind, McCall is on a different pit strategy. He came down a couple laps ago. These drivers, other than coming down on that initial caution, they have not come down yet. So they still need to come down for their pit stops. So this really isn't a battle for position. But if you're McCall, if you're faster, you definitely don't want to get stuck behind them because you don't want to lose too much time to the drivers that you were fighting around.
Yeah, and fighting around, you can see McCall just made a nice move on Miniker, and it does look like Newton is maybe having a little bit of internet connection issues back there. So on top of that damage, he may have had to play a little safe with the blips. But we're watching as these guys are starting to. McCall, I think, was able to maybe make up on a mistake that Miniker, or maybe just has more pace. And speaking of Miniker, there's a lockup right back behind there. So the tires on Miniker's tires have got to be falling off, and maybe they're going to start thinking about pitting as we're kind of coming up to that 21, 22 possible pitting strategy.
Yeah, we can see another battle going on track. Tim Moore, Jarrett Talmadge. Tim has been trying to do everything he can to gain time. You can see taking a different line through turn one, going really wide so he can try and get as much pace on exit. Kind of pays off a little bit. Not really sure how it pays off, but we'll see. Going into the hairpin, or into the international horseshoe, rather. He doesn't really get a good entry, so it seems like the big spots you can see Tim gaining is where it's just full out, utilizing that draft. Jared is much faster on the entries, while Tim usually has the smoother exits. You can see coming into the western horseshoe. Tim trying to see, again, running it really wide so he can keep it as tight as he can through the corner. It pays out for him there, and he's able to close up a good bit of time, but now it's going to be how much time can he gain coming around NASCAR 1-2. These guys also are trying to close up on Thomas Green, about 2 seconds off of him. But now we'll see. If we take a look a little bit further ahead, you can see Tyler Burden also battling out with Drew Jewah, but it looks like Burden might be pulling away. But here, coming down the backstretch, looks like it's going to be Jared Talmadge's position to hold for just a little bit longer.
Yeah, indeed, and we're kind of getting into that phase where they're definitely starting to find their rhythm and their flows. We're going to the bus stop. He slides almost into it a little bit, it looked like, so is Moore going to take advantage of that? Who knows? But like you were saying, we're kind of finding that rhythm where these guys are maybe starting to be like, maybe let loose a little bit mentally because they're finding the rhythm. But we're also getting into those pitch stop strategies, and they come into huge factors. It does look like Moore is taking advantage of some of that draft a little bit. So we're going into a turn that braking is important.
And here we go. Tim Moore in striking distance. What is he going to choose to do going into turn one? He's going to stick to that line he's been running really wide through one. Keep it a little bit tighter through two. But will he choose to make a move into the international horseshoe? We'll see if he's going to do that here. Doesn't look like he's going to. And again, you can see up ahead, there's somebody locking up. I don't know if it's Thomas Green or somebody else, but consistently we're seeing lockups there through the international horseshoe. The lap traffic's going to start to be a thing, as you can see a couple drivers coming through the field of 21, one of them the 45 as well. So we'll see how these drivers navigate that lap traffic. But still, this battle going on. And see, Tim is just able to get close enough, but just not comfortable enough to try and make a move on Jared Talmadge.
Yeah, depending on what happens coming into NASCAR 1, if Talmadge makes a little bit of a mistake, Moore is right there to eat it up, and even going in the bus stop. And these are big opportunities to make moves on. So anything is truly, like I keep saying, it's possible, especially being that this is a road course and the inner circle is a little bit tricky to do. But it does look like Talmadge is maybe driving a little bit better than Moore. So, but we're going into the bus stop, and depending on how late he brakes, anything can happen. It does look like no mistakes were made, and Moore is actually sticking about the same time as we're sitting on board our current race leader, and looks like he's starting to run into some of that lap traffic that you were speaking of.
Yeah, he's been going around some lap cars here and there, but we're going to take a lap on board with Min Hang, our race leader, so you can get an idea kind of what it's like around here at Daytona Road Course, especially in these Cup cars. But you can see a lot of sliding for him. He's definitely pushing this car everything he can. But he's been very consistent. That was his fastest lap of the race. Last lap, a 1:46.1. So we'll see this lap how he does. But you can see interesting choices on how he takes the lines. Like through here into the Western Horseshoe, we've seen some drivers take it really wide and then cut it in. He decides to keep it pretty close and then run it really wide on the exit. So going through some of the stuff that you typically see from some of these drivers, the way they're taking the lines, he's kind of doing the opposite, and it's obviously it's working because he's the fastest car on track.
Yeah, and factoring this as an open league, there's a possibility he might just have a slightly different setup than any of those drivers that he might be comfortable with that the rest of the field is not comfortable. So just having a setup could be a big factor into some of these turns. So I actually just got corrected. I'm wrong. The fixed setup. So he may have just found something in a setup that he's comfortable with that all the other drivers are not in regards to that fixed setup. We're going through the bus stop and hit it flawlessly going into the oval section of this track, and we'll be curious to see, is it going to be as fast, or he may be go a little slow, as at this point for him, he's just time trialing.
Yeah, he's been pretty much checked out for the duration of this race. As we take a look here over the past couple laps between him and Isaac Shelley, Shelley's been gaining just very, very slightly, anywhere between about a tenth to about a quarter of a second a lap. You can see even that last lap, Shelley gaining about a tenth, and a big off there for Min Hang. That's going to allow Shelley to close up a good bit, about a second gain there through turn one. So that gap was over 4 seconds, now down to about 3 1/3. So it seems like Shelley really finding himself a rhythm. And this, unfortunately, is a little characteristic of Min Hang. We see him, he can have lightning fast speed when it comes to these road courses, but it almost seems like he just is a little too out. As a massive lockup. Oh my gosh, that right front is definitely going to be flat spotted there. But we see him just kind of, it almost like he loses his focus throughout the race. If he doesn't have anybody to battle, it just, that focus seems to disappear. He loses pace, because we saw it at Watkins Glen. He ran away with the race, and all of a sudden Eric O'Connor catches up to him, and he just has nothing for him. Now we're seeing a similar situation where he checked out, and now Isaac Shelley is closing up that gap now rather quickly, because Min Hang keeps making some small mistakes.
Yeah, and factoring in that we still also have to do a pit stop. Maybe that fuel's starting to run low. Is that going to maybe bite Min Hang in the butt? Because Shelley's, again, cutting on that lap time. You were saying about 3 seconds. Now he's down to 2.5 seconds, and we're lap 24:55, and those tires and fuel have to definitely be maybe on the back of both Hang and Shelley's head about possibly, when do I pit? Do I pit now? Do I pit later? It's going to be a huge factor coming into about the halfway point of this race.
We see the race leader boxing here down the front stretch. Shelley going to answer the call as well. Again, stage points are taken at lap 28. So we're going to see this is going to be a battle off of pit road between these two, as it is about a 1.5 seconds coming down pit lane between the two. We'll see what the gap is going to be as they come back on track. But as they entered, it was about a 2.5 second lead for Min Hang. These were the top two on track for qualifying. So we'll see how things fare as they get off pit road. But it looks like tires for Isaac Shelley, not for Min Hang. Min Hang out, and he's going out of pit lane.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see, especially with having that flat spot in the one side of the tires. Was that maybe a mistake? I think it may be a little bit of a mistake for Min Hang, unfortunately, but we'll see. I might eat my words at the end of this race. I think Shelley may have made the better option. We're starting to see some of these drivers struggle a little bit, but maybe Min Hang hasn't, just being in front of the pack.
Well, we take a look here. Jewah, your race leader right now. Thomas Green sitting in second. Tim Moore in third. only one of these drivers, that of Jewah, came down under the caution. That was lap 3. So he might be able to go an extra lap or so. We'll kind of have to keep tabs on that. But you take a look as they're back on track. Min Heng's gap about 3 seconds back to Isaac Shelley. So while Shelley might have gained time entering pit road, taking the tires allowed Min Heng to gain time. Right now, the drivers that have come in, Min Heng, Isaac Shelley, Jolene Sims, are provisional 1, 2, 3. Tyler Bird and Jared Talmadge currently sitting 4th, 5th. Of the cars that have come in for the pit stop already, that's not for certain where they're going to end up, because you never know. The undercut might not work for them. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, indeed, and especially a track like this that honestly I would say it's probably one of the more unpredictable tracks of the season, just because of it is a road course after all. Some of these drivers are not as comfortable. The undercut might be powerful, but we don't really know till the end. As we're sitting on board Jewah, he definitely has got to be starting to think, maybe do I want to start thinking about pitting? As we are lap 25. No, I know they did go in earlier at the beginning of the race to get that splash, but are they maybe going for the the points for the safety? As we're seeing the number 3 car pulling in to possibly get new tires, but definitely getting new fuel.
Yeah, Thomas Green, Tim Moore, both down pit lane. Doesn't look like... Oh, nope, there they are. They're up on the right side. That is tires for Thomas Green. Will Tim Moore be taking tires? Yes, he will. So interesting to see drivers taking tires. Again, typically, you don't usually see drivers take tires at road courses, because just the way to get them settled back in, not always the best. Min Heng is, I believe, the only one besides Jolene Sims that opted to stay on the original set of tires. Tyler Burden might have as well. We'll kind of have to wait and see how he does throughout the run. But from here, other than just a couple of drivers, we've had almost everybody come down pit lane for their pit stop. Lap 28, again, is where we're taking the stage points. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, indeed. I was saying I'd be curious to see is Drew maybe trying to go for those couple stage points and leading the pack, but maybe not. Maybe Drew's just is driving a car a lot better and is comfortable, because really when it comes down to, especially a track like this, it's how comfortable are you with the car, or I mean, really can your fuel last? So I think Drew at this point is probably going to try to push that car up to that lap 28 to get those points. And already looking back, we see Min Heng already is in 2nd place. So essentially without pit stops, Heng is currently still in kind of 1st position, but Drew is still kind of sitting in that the current positional pole.
Yeah, and the question is, can Drew make it to the to another lap here? As long as he, I believe, comes down at 28, he should stay ahead of Min Heng. He's got himself about a 10-second gap that last lap. We'll kind of have to see where Min Heng's time was. He ran the fastest lap of the race, a 1:45.9, almost 2 seconds faster than that of Jewah. So the big speed there coming out from the 2 car. And it seems like that car just finally getting settled in the way he would like. And you can see the cars that didn't take tires, that of Tyler Burden, Jolene Sims, Min Heng, all running extremely faster lap times than everybody else, anywhere between 1 to 3 seconds faster than others.
Yeah, and right there is the power of having good tires and maybe not as much the fuel, but Min Heng is very comfortable in this track, and you can see, I mean, even catching up to Jewah, who's probably starting to run on empty a little bit. And it doesn't look like Drew is probably going to get those stage points, pending his car doesn't miraculously start to stop working. So, but still, Heng is even taking a 3-second gap from Shelley. So, I don't know about you, Alex, but I think Heng is very comfortable here.
Oh yeah, Heng is definitely in a comfortable position. He's about that same distance that he was when he came into pit road with Isaac Shelley. And oh, this is not good for Jewah. He's got the 48 right in front of him. It's going to be Luca Mazzilli that he works his way around. So he's going to put Luca Mazzilli a lap down. But Drew, I believe he would be coming down this time. We'll have to see, though. Does he show that he is coming down pit lane, or is he going to go another lap around? He's going another lap around. He's going to take the stage win. Jewah is going to be your stage winner here for the battle at the beach. That is huge points for him. Not only is it 10 stage points, but it's also a playoff point. So good play for him, being able to work that strategy while being caught up in that initial incident on lap 1. It's not great, but it definitely paid out in the end, that's for sure.
Indeed it did, and those points are going to become very crucial as we get towards the end of the season. So having that playoff point is big for him. So I'll be curious to see. He's starting to look a little slidey. So now that the stage is over, is he going to start running on empty and is going to have to consider coming in shortly? I would not be surprised if he can maybe make one more lap.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised to see him come down this lap now that he got that stage point. He got the stage win. A great thing for him. No need to stay out any longer than you really have to, unless the car still feels good. I mean, you want to try and stretch it. If you can make it a one-stop race, even better. So we'll see what his strategy is going to be. But now that we hit the midway point, let's go through our mid-race break, where we go through the entire field and let you know where your favorite drivers are out on track. Like we said, Jewah, your stage winner. Second place, Min Hang. He's been the race leader almost entire race until he came down pit lane on lap 24. Behind him, he's got Isaac Shelley, who's trying to close that gap, now down to about 2.5 seconds as he's continually shrinking that gap. A good bit further back, though, you've got Jolene Sims in the number 6 car. She's moved around the field a good bit, but currently sitting in 4th place. After Jewah comes down pit lane, she'll be moving up back onto the podium. Tyler Burden is currently holding on to 5th place, not too much further behind Jolene Sims. She's had some really good battling throughout the race, has really good pace, and it seems like he's kind of settled into his own. 6th place is Jarrett Talmadge in the 16, and while he said he didn't feel great in the car in the pre-race, our Daytona 250 winner here for season 11, definitely doing a good thing in 6th, looking to maybe even get into the top 5. Thomas Green currently hanging out a little bit further behind in 7th. He's had some really good pace, been having some really good battles early on throughout this race, but he's got one going on right behind him is Tim Moore trying to see if he can go around the outside. He's currently holding on 8th place, and Tim Moore having a good race for a driver, again, who doesn't like road courses very much. JT Sipes in 9th place. He's been kind of in and out from the battles, but he's currently holding on to a top 10 spot. And then James Mendez has worked his way up to 10th place after having some issues a little bit earlier on in this race. Outside of the top 10, we've got Ryan McCall, as he has worked his way up through the field. He was our first driver to come down under green flag conditions. Then we've got Brian Baker back in 12th place. In 13th, Jonathan Amodio, who somehow has not come down pit lane yet. Then you've got Luca Mazzilli. He is currently 1 lap down. He is no longer 1 lap down. He is back on the lead lap. But then you've got Christopher Law in 15th. Ryan Miniker is in 16th. Then you've got Noah McGalliard in 17th. Brad Qualls, big lockup there for the 21 of McGalliard. Then you've got Brad Qualls in 18th. Jared Newton, it looks like he is taking it behind the pit wall, as well as Victor Imbasciani. Has a lot of damage here, but it looks like he is probably done for today. And Kyle England has taken it behind the pit wall as well. So that is our field here for tonight. And that is our running order through the halfway point of tonight's race.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see. We're talking a couple of these drivers still going long pace. Min Hang has been going for 30 consistent laps on that car, so Min Hang must be super comfortable. And as we're looking here, that's a huge lockup
from Tim Moore.
Wow, it was a huge lockup as we're sitting on board with Thomas Green. But man, those tires! Oh boy, Alex, I think unfortunately he might have to come pit early for replacement of those tires.
No, definitely not. You don't want to go this early to come down pit lane. It's definitely not going to benefit you, especially considering he's on a fresh set. There's no way we're going to see Tim Moore come back down pit lane. But that was an insane lockup. I mean, it almost took up the lap car next to him. That's how hard he was braking. That was Ryan Miniker on his outside. But thankfully, at least gets the car through the bus stop. While it did cost him a lot of time to Thomas Green, the car is still in one piece, and that's the key.
Indeed it is. And speaking of one piece, it does look like that one piece lap that we just saw from Jewah is over, because it does look like, unfortunately, I had to go in and pit to get that. Unfortunately, that lead is gone no more. They had to pit and get fresh fuel.
Yeah, you can see Jewah back to 5th place here, so didn't lose as much time as I kind of thought he would have. I thought maybe was going to drop back to about 6th or 7th, but he's currently holding on to top 5, about 4 seconds back from Tyler Burden, about 5 seconds ahead of Jarrett Talmadge. So while he's kind of in no man's land right now, he's definitely in a great spot considering, again, caught up in that lap 1 incident, took significant damage that he lost his front end, was able to get the car repaired and everything like that, and is currently running really, really well. He even got to lead some laps, got the stage win, so things going well for our three-peat champion.
Yeah, indeed, and that's where, I mean, it's an early season, so it maybe just kind of find the rhythm again. So anything is possible early season. But Jewah, I think, honestly, is driving a rather impressive race for, especially sitting in the front with how long they were able to hold that lap. We're jumping ahead a little bit. I believe that is going to be Min Heng, who has,
actually,
I guess, maybe
Jolene Sims. We're taking a look at Jolene Sims. You can see Tyler Burton behind is trying to close up that gap. This is one of the closer fights going on track right now, as the green flag stops kind of fanned out the field a good bit. And you can kind of see it. Take it with a grain of salt with the pit times, or not the pit times, with the lap times. But Jolene Sims losing some time fairly significantly to Tyler Burton behind, as that gap was well over about 5 seconds or so. It's now shrunk very, very quickly to about 1.5 seconds, but getting closer to a second as we go around the rest of the infield, going back to NASCAR 1.
Yeah, and that gap you can see is shrinking, so maybe Sims is starting to feel the tires a little bit, or just uncomfortable. Burton is very much finding rhythm, and I mean, with 25 to go, I hope these drivers are starting to get comfortable, but sometimes you just kind of think a little bit too much and make small little mistakes that add up in the end.
Now, just a reminder, Jolene Sims, one of those drivers that did not elect to take tires. Her pit time was 10 seconds, so she took just enough fuel that she needed. Maybe trying to keep the car lighter to try and space things out for this final stop. We'll kind of have to wait and see what her strategy is going to be. But the drivers that had taken tires, or better to say had not taken tires, you've got Min Heng, Jolene Sims. It looks like Tyler Burton also did not take tires. We've got JT Sipes further back in 9th place. 10th place, James Mendez, I believe, is one who did not take tires. Yeah, it was James Mendez. Ryan McCall did not take tires. And then Noah McGalliard also elected not to take tires when they came down for pits. But we can take a look real quick at the pit strategy so far across the entire field. And you can see that is the pit stop lap that they came in. That's what's in the circle there. And for the most part, everybody kind of around the same pit strategy. The only ones that are slightly off are Mendez and Drew Jewah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, Drew was, again, I think that strategy may have just been for more points than anything. But even, like you said, a lot of these drivers probably practice about the same time. So the lap times they were doing before are probably going to net them about the same position, which may not be a bad thing for some of these drivers. For example, Min Heng.
Yeah, you can take a look and just, I mean, the big thing is who's going to maybe try and do undercuts and things like that, because this last stop is going to be where things are going to be really interesting, because it's just going to be a quick little splash and dash. How much fuel are you going to need? How quickly are you going to be able to come down? Do you wait till the very end of the run when the car's really light, just put a little bit extra fuel in it to get to the end? Or do you come down once you hit that pit window? That way you know, hey, I could put in the fuel, fill the car up again, we're going to be able to make it from here. What is the strategy going to be? And I think part of it's going to be based on where your situation currently is on track. If you're currently in a fight, or if you see a lot of lap traffic coming through, do you come down to try and avoid the dirty air? Do you try and keep yourself in the clean air? Do you want to try and prevent yourself from being slowed down by maybe some of the lap cars, stuff like that, and give yourself that open space? There's a lot of things to consider as we get closer and closer to that final pit stop. But those are kind of some of the things that these drivers are going through in their head as we continue to push out laps with 23 to go.
Yeah, indeed, and even some of the thought processes you're gonna have, like somebody like Min Heng. You know, is it a good idea to pit now, because it could possibly lose you that lead? Is you got Shelby right behind, with about a second behind, or maybe if you're somebody like Jewah, you might want to try to pit early to beat out Min Heng up front. So, like you were saying, traffic is important, but also how are you feeling with the car? Are you comfortable with it? Is it maybe you like to drive a car that's a little bit lighter? Do you like driving a car that's a little heavier? It does factor into everything. And
as we see this gap shrink more and more, Isaac Shelley now less than a second away from our race leader, Min Heng. Other than the laps that he came down early for his pit stop, he has led every single lap in this race. And now Min Heng trying to knock on, Isaac Shelley trying to knock on that door of the 2 machine and see if he can get himself up for the race lead. I wouldn't be surprised to see him do that because he has been gaining a good chunk of time each and every lap. He's been running really, really well, really smooth so far. His lap times have been much quicker than that of Min Heng. That last lap that he ran, about 7/10 faster. This lap, we'll see here in just about a second as it comes to the timing tower, about a half second faster than that of Min Heng. So Isaac Shelley continually gaining time as, big slide there for the 2.
Yeah, indeed, and you were saying that those lap times are coming down and down, and right there, I think Heng might be feeling a little bit of that pressure. Has made a mistake coming into it, and Shelley just basically had the door open for him, and I'll be very curious to see, does Shelley take advantage of a mistake? It looks like Shelley may have gone a little wide on there, but maybe going wide on that line for the way he's driving that car is helpful, as it doesn't look like he lost any time as we're getting ready to go back onto the oval.
Well, right now, Shelley is in that prime position. He really doesn't have too much to worry about. He just has to be patient. That's the key right now. You've got yourself a 26-second gap to the car behind. You're not really forced to make a pass anytime soon. You've got 22 laps. Obviously, you don't want to wait to the end and make it last minute, but you don't need to force something if you don't have to right now. That's kind of the golden thing right now for Isaac Shelley. He can wait for a mistake. If Min Heng next lap comes around turn 1, slides the rears like he did that last lap, then boom, he capitalizes, takes the pass around turn 2, and he's up ahead going into the International Horseshoe. Or you just keep riding out. Again, he's in a great spot because not only can he fuel save if he rides behind Min Heng, but you can save the tires because you don't need to push as hard because you know right now you are the faster car.
Yeah, indeed, and that's definitely got to be something that is making Shelley rather happy in that car, and Heng's definitely going to feel the pressure, so I know feeling pressure could cause more mistakes. It almost looks like Shelley, it looks like he may tap the wall, but it looks like Shelley might be taking the option of playing it smart and saving those tires and fuel, which with 21 laps to go, I think it's a smart decision to do, is we still have probably another about 20 or so minutes of racing. And right there, Min Heng is definitely making a little bit of mistakes, but not enough that Shelley can take advantage.
Well, we'll see what Min Heng is able to pull out of this car. He did not take tires on the last pit stop, so those front tires probably feeling it a little bit with the hard braking zones, as well as the rears with how he's been sliding around some of these exits. So we'll see how those tires are throughout. But right now, again, Isaac Shelley just trying to be smooth with things. Min Heng trying to see if he can find a little bit of extra pace out of this car. As you can see, Julian Sims gaining maybe a little bit of time. Not too terribly much, though, across the last lap. But if these two keep battling, don't be surprised to see if Julian Sims starts to close that gap. Now, with 21 laps to go, is 26 seconds possible to catch up? I don't think so, but there's a chance, depending on how hard these two fight.
Yeah, and depending what happens, like we've seen it in past races for other leagues, and even here, if a yellow flag comes out, that changes everything. So maybe these guys battle a little too hard, tap each other, throw each other in the wall. Right there is an opportunity for Sims to come up and possibly take a W. Yeah,
well, to see, it would be very... it would have to be a big wreck in order for the caution to come out. As these guys have said before, unless it's like a track blocking wreck or a wreck that involves a ton of cars, the caution's not going to come out for road courses. That's why we saw it come out round turn 1. And unfortunately, that is the first caution we've seen at a road course since we've shifted over to iRacing for the OMA VRC. You can see even coming around here, tri-oval, Isaac Shelley taking a wide line. Gonna try and see if he can set himself up through turn 1 and 2. And again, a slight mistake from Shelley. Big wiggle there coming around turn 2. Side by side as they come through turn 3 and 4 into the International Horseshoe. It's gonna be side by side for the race lead. Shelley gonna stay on the outside of Min Heng. He's gonna see if he can cut it on the inside. Can't get the crossover done on the exit. So he's still gonna hang out in second place.
Yeah, watching that, I think Min Heng is very much feeling their tires. I saw a little bit of wiggling. And I think Shelley maybe smells that blood in the water and is very much going to jump on opportunities. You saw right there that little mistakes that Heng didn't make, he took advantage of. And Min Heng is fortunately still, driving relatively decently, but is still making very small little mistakes that Shelley might be just kind of let happen. Like you were talking earlier, trying to save tires, trying to save fuel, trying to save a little bit of everything, because we still have plenty of time that anything can happen.
Yeah, still a lot of racing to go, but you can see the top 5 really are much faster than the rest of the field, anywhere between 1 to 2 seconds faster each lap. So they're all pulling away from the rest of the field. Don't be surprised to maybe see some more cars get lapped here, as everybody outside of the top 10 is currently at least 1 lap down. Isaac Shelley side by side into the bus stop. That is going to be Min Hang off into the grass. He's going to have to serve the time penalty, but my goodness, what a move from Isaac Shelley. I don't think Min Hang was expecting the move the way that he was entering the bus stop. We'll go back and take a look at that replay and kind of see how those two went into the bus stop.
Yeah, that was very daring by Shelley, but I think it was a fair move as we're watching the replay here, and it's a little difficult to see with all those motorhomes, but it does look like Shelley may have just had the better entry out of the oval.
That is not the camera angle. My apologies.
That is not indeed, as it does look like, yeah, just like Shelley had the better move as we're getting this slow-mo here, and
you can just see he goes really late on the brakes. Min Hang doesn't expect him to make that dive, and that's where, yeah, he had to compromise the entry a little bit. And then smart move, though, from Min Hang to try and, instead of forcing it on track, decides, hey, I'm just going to eat it. We're going to go off track. We'll go from there. I want to take a look at this one more time. We're going to go on board with Isaac Shelley. You can just see how deep he sends it into the bus stop.
yeah, as you can see, it looks like he's just kind of there enjoying that slipstream, and then, man, really is late on the brakes and makes that turn. He makes, honestly, probably that brakes, he makes it look easy. I don't know about you, Alex, but that was quite a dive bomb.
Yeah, it was a huge move for him. He was able to capitalize on Min Hang braking early, and that was the thing. He didn't have to force an issue, had plenty of time. He waited, saw how Min Hang was running the corners, saw he was braking a little bit earlier than he was able to going into the bus stop, and that's where he was able to capitalize on the move going into the bus stop, and that gets him the race lead. So Isaac Shelley leading his first laps of the race, and that gap, because of the off track there from Min Hang, is now up to 3 seconds.
Yeah, indeed. And unfortunately, that little mistake, well, I don't know if it was a mistake yet, if it was a smart move, unfortunately, again, like you're saying, cost about 3 seconds. But we've seen the pace that Hang has. We're now jumping back to somebody else who's had decent pace, of Jewah, who was leading the race for a little bit and is coming up to a little bit of a battle, and also I believe some of that is lap traffic. So this will be very interesting to see as we're going into the bus stop, and it does look like if that is lap traffic, they are being relatively respectful.
Yeah, Tyler Burden, not sure what happened to his car. The ZR6 machine is just completely ruined. We'll go back and see what happened to him here in a second, but he has been running so well up in 4th place for a good portion of this race, but I don't know what caused his car to look like that as we come around. Big lockup for him coming around the Western Horseshoe. Nothing wrong there. Was it getting onto the NASCAR 1, maybe getting a little tight on the exit?
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
Oh.
Yeah, the car, I don't know what happened there. Go on board with him here.
I know a couple of the drivers. I know a couple of the drivers during practice were complaining about this sector as the car does feel a little bit loose. So maybe the car may have just kind of snapped, as that isn't a usual section where they lose it.
Oh, yep. He slid it into the turn and then tried to save it, overcompensate a little too much, and that's what caused the car to die. So unfortunately, Tyler Burden in pit road. That might be his race unless he's got his fast repair. I would hope he does, but we'll kind of see. It looks like he might have towed back because he is being a little bit longer than you normally would be. But taking a look throughout the field right now, our top 5 now sits at Isaac Shelley, Min Hang, Jolene Sims, Drew Jewah, and Jarrett Talmadge. You've got Thomas Green and Tim Moore about a second and a half apart from each other, battling it out for 6th place. But right now, Thomas Green holding on to 6th.
Yeah, and he's had a rather exciting race, so he's probably very much enjoying just having some, time to himself, just making sure getting those lap times down and maybe finding that headspace again. This is one of those races where headspace is very important to make sure you're consistent. as we're going through one of the faster sections where headspace is important in that bus stop, because that could be a second or two off your lap time if you don't hit it properly as we're coming around the back straight, or the front straight here.
Yeah, so as we go further and further into this race, you take a look, the field is spread out a good bit. You can see it in the track map up there in the corner. And we have our first driver to come down pit lane here for the second stops. Thomas Green is going to take the first stop. So we'll see 17 to go. It looks like he's going to go as soon as he got the green flag to come in, that he's going to be able to make it to the end with the stop. So we'll see how everybody else decides to come down. But that's not good. He overshoots its pit stall just a little bit there. We'll see if he takes tires or if he is just taking fuel only. Looks like it just a quick splash and go for the number 3.
It's just interesting. You were saying about tires. I was a little surprised how early he came in, because he was only about a 12 or a 13 lap stint. So I'm not surprised he didn't take tires. So maybe he's just trying to outpace some of the other back car drivers. As at this point, if your tires are comfortable, it's all about your gases. We have 17 to go, so we're jumping around, and some of these drivers maybe are gonna have to start thinking about, hey, gas is gonna be a factor.
Yeah, while we have a little bit of moment in between some of the racing, we're going to turn the mics off here from the booth, and we're going to crank up the sound on the track and give you the sights and sounds of the Daytona Road Course here at the Battle at the Beach. All right, we hope you enjoyed the sights and sounds here at the Daytona Road Course for the Battle at the Beach. You can see we have drivers all throughout the track. You can see one thing when we went on board with Min Hang going through turn 1. I don't know about you, Keith, but it looked like he was getting really squirrely. The tire wear definitely starting to affect that 2 car.
Oh, indeed, and I think it's affecting all of these guys as much as it might be affecting you too, especially if you didn't take tires at last stint. But the hard braking, especially on these cars, really has got to be a factor. But we'll see as we're getting into that final stint for these guys in regards to those pit stops, who takes tires and who doesn't. And I think we're gonna see that number 2 car taking we'll see that number 2 car taking some tires.
We'll have to see, though. It's not going to be long enough, I think, for those tires really to get up the temp and get gripped into the track. That's the problem at this point. We saw a lot of the drivers take tires on the first stint rather than waiting for this one. And it seems to be the good call, because we see Isaac Shelley. He was able to not only get ahead of Minhang, but he has now gapped him by 6.5 seconds. We have another driver coming down pit lane. That'll be Ryan McCall coming down. He's going to take a stop as well. We've also seen JT Snipes and Brian Baker come down. I believe Jared Talmadge also coming down pit lane as well. So a few more drivers coming down, taking their final pit stop for the race. We'll see how strategies all play out here in a moment, but we actually have a battle going on. This is between Jared Talmadge and Thomas Green. Both drivers have come down pit lane, so this battle is for position.
Yeah, and it does look like, looking at my charts, that Talmadge is probably a little bit heavier than Green, as Green is about a lap, has been on the track 1 lap longer, so this battle's pretty equal. It's just who is going to be able to take advantage. Is Talmadge going to take advantage of his driving ability, or is Green going to take advantage of a mistake? Because it does look like there's a lockup right there of Talmadge, and Green is going to take advantage going into the road course. So those lockups, like you were talking about, that first turn is becoming a huge factor, I think, for a lot of these moves tonight.
Yeah, we've seen this, unfortunately, time and time again for Jared Talmadge. The wide turns, it's the International Horseshoe, sorry, not the International Horseshoe. Turn 1, the Western Horseshoe, we've seen him really have troubles getting into there, and that's where his big lockups have been, and that's where a lot of drivers have been able to make moves, unfortunately. So you hate to see it for the 16, but he's currently, again, he had big issues with the car in practice. He talked about in the pre-race interview that he wasn't very confident in his driving, but right now, I think he's in a great spot. He said his goal was a top 5, but definitely wanted to at least finish around where he started, currently 7th place after starting in 5th. Not a bad spot for him.
Not at all. And in general, I mean, points do kind of come down in the end. So just finishing a race, maybe if you're not as comfortable, is more important than getting those wins, because ultimately, as you see, maybe tapping the wall right there, but getting points, especially when you come down to the end of the season, you're going to look back and go, man, I'm happy I finished your Daytonas or your Codas or your Red Bull Rings, because points are going to be a factor. As we do see Green going to be going side by side going into that front straight, and there goes a couple of points if he can lose, if he loses that position.
We'll see if Talmadge, contact between the two of them. They get into the wall there on the outside. Thomas Green still side by side with Jared Talmadge. The battle for 6th place still extremely tight. Talmadge going to see to make a move to the inside. They go through turn 1. Traffic on the outside, so it's really tight as they have to squeeze into just 2 lanes around turns 1 and 2. Side by side as they go through 3 and 4 as we get down into the International Horseshoe. And my goodness, it is tight racing as there is still the 16 car on the right side of the 3. They come through the International Horseshoe. Massive slide for Thomas Green as they get ready to go down through the kink into the Western Horseshoe.
Yeah, and right here, like you were saying, Green and Talmadge are both going to keep as. It looks like they even touched right there. They're going to be battling for those points. And these guys, I mean, these are maybe the least comfortable road drivers, but you're definitely seeing some of their racecraft come in that they're getting from maybe practicing for this week or even just in the oval racing. And you're still seeing some super good talent, as it does look like Talmadge is going to be able to come out of here. But Green does make a move, and there's a lockup from Talmadge and contact going into the oval. And they're still sticking together, getting ready to come onto the ovals. Talmadge does have the upper lane. He does come down and almost tapped Green, and we're going into the bus stop, but one of these drivers might have to back off.
Yeah, Thomas Green, massive lockup there, getting back onto NASCAR 1, but I'm not sure what Jared Talmadge's plan here is by pushing Thomas Green all the way to the outside through the corners, through the banking there on the oval, but almost a slide there from Thomas Green, able to save it. It's going to keep him on track, but he's going to lose a significant amount of time there to Jared Talmadge. We'll see if he's going to be able to get that back. He definitely, I think, is the faster driver, but it seemed like almost that and it's kind of ironic because he's driving a Dale Earnhardt scheme, but it seems like Talmadge might have rattled his cage a little bit, as you saw him getting very aggressive in that 16, contact almost being made in several different instances. So maybe it was just the 3 trying to keep from making contact. And so the best case scenario was just kind of back out. Now it puts him in the position to attack. So we'll see how he chooses to approach the 16 car.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, I almost wonder maybe between these two, is there a little bit of mental battle going on as much as on the track? Because you got to be mentally able to take that move and trust your driving ability. So anything is a big deal with mental, and we're jumping on board here. It does look like we're going to be getting on board with this. Maybe not as exciting battle, but definitely a battle going into the bus stop, I believe. And this is the number 23 car of Amadio, and I believe that is McCall right ahead of him. So it's going to be a good battle. It's about half a second, and we're going into sectors that mistakes we've been seeing all night have been happening.
Yeah, it's actually the number 1 of Brian Baker, and this is the battle for 10th place, so a top 10 spot up for grabs here. While these drivers both a lap down, they definitely want to try and get that top 10. Not only, again, for points, but it looks great. It looks great on the stat sheet. Nice little confidence booster to have a top 10 in a road course. And Jonathan Amodio, one of those drivers last season, I talked about him a lot. Through the second half of the season, had phenomenal driving. He put up a great second half of the season. Great improvement, showed a lot of strength, but then there was, it's hard to recall back to it, but it was the Long Beach race. It was really rough for Amodio. That car was all over the track, got into the wall several times, got into several incidents, and it was not easy going there for the 23 machine. So to see him currently battling in 11th, trying to see if he can get up into 10th place is a great sight to see, and hopefully he can continue to make that climb. But we'll see how he's able to fare here through the ending laps. Maybe see if he's going to be able to make that move. But let's jump back up. This is the battle for 6th place. Still Jared Talmadge, Thomas Green still going at it. Thomas Green not able to make a move yet, but he looks down to the right side as they come through the International Horseshoe. Not a good exit there for Jared Talmadge. Thomas Green almost going to be side by side. Can he get the crossover through the kink? Is he going to make that move? No, he's going to ride behind. Look out, though. The Western Horseshoe is a big braking zone. A good passing zone is, good defensive line from the 16 of Talmadge.
And as you can see, I'm not sure which car, one of those guys had a little bit of brake dust, but I think that may have been Green, as it does look like Talmadge is battling quite hard, and they're staying right on top of each other. So any little mistake that Talmadge makes, Green is going to take advantage as we are getting ready to go onto the oval section. So it's going to be maybe a little bit of that draft going to factor in for Green as we're getting ready to go into one of the more famous portions of this of overtaking, which is the bus stop. But it does look like Green is exactly making up on time. So we're going to go into that bus stop. Does Green try to make the move, or is he going to be less aggressive and decide, hey, I'm going to stay behind? It does look like he's going to just decide, hey, I'm going to be smart and not go aggressive as they're going to the bus stop. And this exit could counter everything. It does look like Green, unfortunately, did take that curbing a little funky, so may have lost a little bit of time, but still, this battle is only just heating up with 10 to go.
Yeah, not the best bus stop exit there for Thomas Green, but he's still able to keep close. Still in striking distance range, but he'll have to close up a lot of time through turn 1. Minhang came down pit road that last time. He got a quick little splash for the end of the race, but he currently finds himself P2, but he is getting right on track in front of Drew Jewah. And a big lock up there from Talmadge again into turn 1. It is consistently turn 1 that is proving a lot of trouble for the 16 machine. As you can see, Jared Talmadge trying to hold off on that outside. He's going to keep it as they go into the International Horseshoe. Thomas Green, though, is constantly peeking on that right side, trying to see if he can make a move on the 16.
Yeah, and as we're winding down, I almost wonder, is Green maybe just kind of staying back and waiting for moves? We're jumping onto the bell for second between Jewah and Minhang as we're going through the bus stop. And it looks like that entrance for Jewah may not have been the most optimal, but it's still standing on top. Is big mistake from Minhang, and I think Jewah is going to take advantage of it as we're getting ready to go into that back straight, or the front straight, into the infamous zone of lockups for a lot of the drivers that first turn. But that draft right here is going to be a factor, as it does look like Drew is still staying right on top of Minhang. And I just want to point out that Drew's had a fantastic race. He is up 15 spots right now.
Well, he is actually our hardest charger for the day, moving up the most positions. Oh my goodness, massive lock up there from Minhang. Almost ended up shunting it into the wall, but thankfully is able to keep that on the tarmac. But that is going to be second place for Drew Jewah. Now, the big thing is, it's not really for position. If you take a look, Minhang has come down pit road for the final time. Drew has not. Now, Drew, we'll take a look here at the pit stops again, is kind of in an interesting situation. He was able to stretch the field 25 laps. Tim Moore, Thomas Green, also able to stretch it 25. Jonathan Amodio stretched it 26. So if you're doing the math, 25, 26 laps from when Drew Jewah came in on lap 28 is lap 54. He's looking to possibly run a lap short if he tries to run this out. So we'll see what the strategy is going to be from the 4-car. Can he save enough fuel for a lap? Can he save enough for maybe 2 if he really needs it? It doesn't seem like he's been running a fuel save strategy, but we'll kind of have to wait and see what we've got out from this 4-car. Because right now he's riding in 2nd place, but after he comes in for his stop, could probably drop down, I would say either to 3rd, maybe even 4th, depending on how long it takes him to come down pit road. Oh my gosh, Min Hang said, no butt stop for me. I'm going straight through it. Not sure what happened there for the 2-car.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because that's going to inflict a time penalty, I believe. So we're going to jump aboard and see what happens as we're coming around this fast section. And is it just going to be maybe missing the braking point, as it does look like we're going to start seeing those brake markers. And it doesn't even look like, oh, they just
Nope, yeah, the
unfortunately...
car just didn't, it wasn't going to make the turn.
No, not at all, and that's unfortunate. That's going to be a time penalty, but we'll be jump back on, and I'll be curious to see, is it going to affect this race? It does look like we're jumping back on board with a battle between that Green-Talmadge battle that has been commencing, and it does look like Green is maybe playing a smarter strategy of trying to stay behind and saving the tires, but we are getting to that point where you got to start thinking about, hey, when do I make that move? When do I, take that mistake that they made and make it a championship point?
Yeah, absolutely. He's at that point. He's got to start making a move here soon. 8 to go as they cross the line. And so it's been Thomas Green just kind of hanging out, but you can tell the patience is starting to wear thin. He's had lots of looks, lots of opportunities. Talmadge is driving very, very defensive, almost at times too defensive, but good move here down into turn 1. He's going to take the inside of the turn as he's going to make a little bit of contact as a door going through turn 2. Talmadge a little squirrely on the exit, but it is going to be Thomas Green who exits out of turns 3 and 4 with the lead into the International Horseshoe. He's going to be up to 6th place as, Talmadge trying to send it deep into the International Horseshoe. Not going to be able to get it, though, as he locks up getting into the corner. So Thomas Green, 6th place for now. How long can he hold on to this position, though?
Yeah, it's going to be very curious to see. We keep seeing Talmadge is locking up those tires, so maybe Talmadge had to give that position up with the tire conditions, because it almost looks like Green is starting to maybe break away just a little bit, but it's still definitely starting to get a little bit of a gap. So that may have just been a, kind of common move as we've seen consistent brake locking from Talmadge. As Talmadge tries to send it on the inside, but it does not look like he was successful going into the oval, but Talmadge is right there. So maybe Talmadge is going to make a little bit of a move going into the bus stop, but those tires do also have to be not happy with him. There's consistent locking into 1 and 2 and 3, but who knows? He might be driving a strategy that maybe tires are not going to be a big factor for him.
We'll see. Is Talmadge going to be bold enough to send it down the inside into the bus stop? Not going to. He takes an early break point. Thomas Green going to hold on through the bus stop, but again, we've seen multiple times where these drivers, they're going to make bold moves, big strategies to try and get themselves positioned. As you see Tim Moore now down pit lane. That's possibly going to be 5th place for these drivers. We'll kind of see how things play out for that, though. He's out of his box and moving, so it's going to be a race to catch up to him, because the pit lane, you have to drive 55 miles an hour quite a way through the pit lane as he's getting ready to come out. Looks like he's going to hold on to 5th, so this is still going to be the battle for 6th place.
Yeah, and it does look like I was saying, I think Talmadge's tires maybe are starting to fall off a little bit, so he may not be able to go for those moves, but Green is still starting to break away just a little bit, but Talmadge is still there, so I'm not sure if there's a huge lockup right there from Green, so maybe what I just said about tires falling off is also affecting Green, but we're kind of getting to that situation where maybe making that move is going to be worth your tire degradation. Is we only have 7 to go, and I mean, I'm not sure if there's any other really battles on the track, but this might be really your last chance to get good points between these 2 drivers as we're going around some of the back half of the International Horseshoe.
Yeah, big, you got to make moves here soon. We've seen these drivers going back and forth as 6 to go as race leader Isaac Shelley crosses the line. He's in lap traffic right now, but you can see he's kind of checked out from the field, almost 10 seconds ahead of Drew Jewah but he's made his final stop. Drew has not. Will Drew need to make a final stop? That's the big question. It's not really going to matter for the race lead, it seems like, given any big incidents from the 98, that Isaac Shelley's got this one on lock.
Ooh.
But it really is going to matter for the podium position for Drew Jewah, maybe even staying on the podium, because Jolene Sims is only about 16, 17 seconds back from him. So it depends on how quickly he's going to be able to come through the pit lane, because it is literally going to be a very short splash and go for the 4-car.
Yeah, and it's going to be very interesting to see, does that become a big benefactor that unfortunately is going to have to, Ben Hang's going to have to go on and get a little bit of fuel, but also even Drew Jewah might, and we're still watching this battle for 6th position. I mean, I think these two guys have been, I mean, yes, they make a little bit of mistakes, but I still think these two drivers here have been my impressive. As a huge lockup.
That's not good.
No, not at all, but it does look like Green was able to stay with that battle, but like I said, I think these two drivers have been, I don't know about you, Alex, but I think I've been impressed the most by these two drivers being able to go door to door like they have, and even just, you know, locking those tires and recovering, especially like we just saw.
Yeah, and they've gone back and forth for about the past 10 laps, really. They've been battling for quite some time, ever since they came out of pit lane. And you can see Talmadge starting to pull away a little bit, but even going through turn 1, we saw Green lock up, but we also saw Talmadge, while he did make the move, he locked up a little bit as well. So it's still these drivers pushing everything they can out of the car, and it's just the car, it is hard to drive around this track. Even long into the run, we're still seeing some drivers have some troubles with it. And the biggest thing is it's those hard braking zones and trying to get the car to rotate in those hard braking zones. It just does not like to do it. It likes to keep straight.
Yeah, it does. And looking ahead a little bit, it does look like we do finally see Drew Jewah going into the pit. So I'll be curious to see, is that going to be a splash and go, or are they going to maybe do something different? But it does look like Min Hang is going to be taking 2nd position. But I think looking even farther ahead, we do see Isaac Shelley up there just kind of enjoying that pace, as he's almost 15 seconds ahead. So I think his race is just a matter of making sure he's able to finish up the race. So we just do big locking from that number 6 machine.
There's Drew Jewah. You see him coming out of the pit box, pushing as hard as he can, because he is just about 2 seconds ahead of Jolene Sims. That's who we're looking at right now in the 6 car. But Drew Jewah able to win that race off. Jolene Sims, you can see she is pushing everything out of that car to try and gain time on the 4. She wants to get onto the podium. She's been a strong road course racer, has been running really well today, just not exactly where she wants to be. You definitely have to think she wants to be on the podium, but a couple mistakes here and there have put her just on the outside looking in. But so far, we'll see if she can gain enough time. I mean, she's got about 2.5 seconds to gain here in these final 5 laps. It's a lot of time to gain.
Indeed it is. It does look like she makes a relatively decent move around some lap traffic, but it does look like a little bit of a wiggle going into the oval section. But going into this bus stop, the bus stop is a big factor for speed. So not that that is a pressure factor of that lap traffic, but I definitely I personally am not the best in this lap traffic behind, so maybe makes a little bit of mistakes. We do see right ahead the Drew Jewah, who is the current 3rd place sitter that she is very much targeting, and going through this bus stop, it's going to get some good speed for that car, and it does look like she maybe is going to catch up, but it's going to be tight. I'm not sure about you, Alex, but I think pending mistakes, I think Drew might just edge it out.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't enough for her to gain a lot of time. She was able to run smooth through it, maybe gains about a 1/10 or so, but that's about it. Not really too much time gained. But going back here, the battle we've been watching here the past several laps, Thomas Green, Jared Talmadge, still about a 1/2 second away from each other. As we get ready, they're going to cross the line, 4 to go for them. As you see Isaac Shelley up in your the track map in the top right. He's going on a NASCAR 1, so he's halfway through the track. But right now, this battle has been just brewing over and over and over, and some mistakes have been made. They've been bumping each other, as you said. They've been making lots of contact, but been very just hard, clean, respectful racing. That's the nice thing about it between these two.
That's what we'd love to see over here at the OMA VRC, is just good, clean racing, as these two drivers seem to have the respect for each other, which is exactly what we love to see from our drivers. And I mean, even see some moves like this right now, it does look like Talmadge may have made a little mistake, and Green was like, okay, I'll back off a little bit, just make sure I don't hit you. And making sure that they are clean racing. I mean, ultimately, this is a marathon. That the series is, we're only on race 2, and points are everything coming to the end. You could miss the playoffs by 1 point that you made a mistake and crash each other out, or you could get those points and make the playoffs. So we see the respect as much these drivers, are friends with each other. They're going for points as well.
Yeah, and we haven't really talked about the playoffs all too much, but the playoff system returns. Oh my gosh,
Whoa!
No! Oh no! That is the 13 of Brad Qualls coming back on track right into traffic. Right into these two. That is Thomas Green making contact with the 13. Oh, that is the worst case scenario there for Thomas Green. Hopefully that damage doesn't affect the car too much, but I don't know. That was a very hard hit there from the 3.
Yeah, looking on what we see here, it doesn't look too bad right now as we're seeing some good battling to the bus stop, but sometimes the viewer doesn't show the full damage, unfortunately, because the iRacing model for us is a little different than them, but it does look like Green is okay, as looks like he's starting to break away a little bit, and looks like a little bit of damage, but nothing that obviously is affecting him that heavily, as we've got 2 to go once they cross the line.
So we'll see. Again, you can see that damage on the right front fender. It doesn't seem like it's affecting the car all that much. It might have messed up the toe a little bit. But from our angle, it's hard to tell. We would have to go on board to see. But he's going to pull ahead, though. He side by side with Talmadge into the bus stop. It looks like Talmadge might have had a slight time penalty, or it's just the way he exited. Didn't have a lot of pace. So Thomas Green going to be 6th place right now. And definitely over the radio, he is not happy. He has made some very strong comments towards the 13 about what had just happened. But right now it's benefited him. He's up the position, but we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, and that was unfortunate. I'll be even curious to see what happened. Was it maybe just unfortunate timing? The crew chief didn't say anything or what? But unfortunately, it doesn't look like the battle's been too disrupted, but still it's unfortunate timing, and the damage is a big factor in these cars, especially going around some of these turns. But yeah, unfortunately lap traffic does plague, as we're seeing even more lap traffic right here, and like I was saying. So we're going into the bus stop, and we've got about 2 to go. As I'm not sure where we're seeing Shelby, but it does look like Shelby is very much comfortably going to take this race pending no mistakes.
Yeah, you can see on the track, Bob Isaac Shelley going to be coming around to NASCAR 1-2 here very, very shortly. This gap from Thomas Green back to Jared Talmadge about 3/4 of a second. And so Thomas Green might be able to hold on to 6th place. But taking a look here at the 98, you can see all by himself out here. He's got clean track for quite a while, so he might just be able to keep clean track and run a quick lap here at the end of the race, but we'll kind of have to wait and see. But for him, while it wasn't the best of starts, he had a phenomenal second half of the race and has been the fastest car on track basically since they came in for that first pit stop.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, that just shows you the power of the pit stop in this race. If you pit the right time, put the right car, maybe tires, maybe not, it all can change your race. And that's where something I love about oval racing is anything is possible. As we're maybe jumping into some of the cars that unfortunately didn't have a great strategy. As we see Barney the Flagman waving the flag, and it's the white flag, a.k.a. it's the last lap of the race. And I bet you Shelly is probably loving seeing that as we're going into that infamous first corner.
Yeah, definitely a good sight to see here for Isaac Shelley. Just got to bring it on home here. No need to really push the car more than you have to, as he's got himself a 17-second gap. But we're taking a look. Battle for top 10 right now. This is Brian Baker, Ryan McCall in the 90 and the 1 machines. And Ryan McCall going to take the inside through NASCAR 3 and 4 as they're coming around to take the white flag. And it's going to be Ryan McCall getting ahead of Brian Baker. Right now, taking a look. Our top 5 is going to be Isaac Shelley, Min Hang, Drew Jewah, Jolene Sims, Tim Moore. But things still pretty close between 5th and 7th place. Only about 3 seconds separate those 3 spots.
Yeah, and as we see right here, we're watching that battle for the points right now for that 10th position. And it does look like McCall is going to be taking right now lead as we're going into that first turn. But it does look like Baker is right on top of him. So it is last lap. So there might be some last lap dives as points are, again, very big factor. But it does look like McCall is ahead just by a little bit. And Baker may be backing off. And maybe just accepting the fact he's going to be P11 as we're going into one of the harder turns. But I mean, I think if I were in this situation, I would be happy with points, as it's been already a rather chaotic race.
Well, we've seen Ryan McCall. He's had really good pace. It's just been mistakes has been his downfall, as you see right there. Going into the Western Horseshoe, gets a little tight, gets a lot of understeer. But we're going to cut over to the race leader right now. Here comes Isaac Shelley. He's going to get his first race win of the season. He takes the battle at the beach. He gets his first win of the season, 11 of the OMA VRC.
Yeah, and I believe that was a well-deserved win after having a good pitch strategy. But speaking of wins, we're not done yet as we're sitting on board with that number 3 car of Green, as it does look like maybe a little bit of a mistake. But this battle is back, baby. We're going into the last couple turns in this battle, but for P6, it's still viewing, and it doesn't look like Green does have the advantage, but Talmadge is there, and he is known to dive late into the bus stop. So it is last lap, and I think he's going to go for a big move if he can, but maybe it's a little too far out as we're getting ready to turn in there, and it does look like he's diving for it and trying to send as much as he can.
He pushed everything he's got. The question is, did he get a time penalty on the exit as he goes to the inside and through NASCAR 3 and 4? He's going to have it. What does Thomas Green have? Is he going to be able to save it? Thomas Green is dooring him all the way up the wall.
God.
They're going through the front stretch, still banging doors. It's going to be around the tri-oval. Is it going to be Thomas Green? Is it going to be Jared Talmadge? Talmadge goes almost all the way to the bottom. I think it was Thomas Green got it as they wreck into the outside wall, coming across into turn 1. But it looks like Thomas Green pulled off 6th place.
And I would not have had that end any other way. My goodness, that was some good battling. But does look like we are starting to finalize our field, and it does look like one of the chaotic races we had tonight is coming to a close. And I'm not sure about you, Alex, but I think we need to take a breath from that crazy end.
That was a phenomenal race all around. We're waiting for just a couple more cars to come across the line, but it looks like everybody's come through. So before we go ahead and talk to our top 3 finishers here tonight, let's take a look at our race results. So our race winner here for tonight, Isaac Shelley, gets a strong finish. Min Heng, I thought, was 2nd place. I don't know where. He dropped down to 7th. Not sure what that was for. We'll have to find out about that. But Isaac Shelley, P1. Jewah getting 2nd place. Jolene Sims finishes out the podium. Tim Moore and Thomas Green 4th and 5th place. Jared Talmadge is listed as 6th place. Min Heng is 7th. So he must have had a black flag or something. We'll get confirmation on that for the next race, because we're not 100% sure why there was a black flag thrown or why Min Heng would have been pushed back. So we're not 100% sure. He could have been 2nd. We'll have to see. But James Mendes is 8th. JT Sipes 9th. Brian McCall 10th. Brian Baker in 11th. Jonathan Modio in 12th. Luca Mazzilli 13th. Ryan Miniker 14th. Noah McGalliard 15th. Brad Quall Sr. 16th. Tyler Burden 17th. Christopher Law back in 18th. And then rounding out the field here for tonight, we've got Jared Newton 19th. Victor Imbasiani in 20th. And then Kyle England, unfortunately, took the car behind the pit wall very early in tonight's race. So we should be able to get our top 3 up here in the booth. Let's take a look real quick and see if they are currently waiting to join us.
I don't mean to interrupt you in the middle of the broadcast, Alex. I just want to let you know, Min actually did finish 2nd. It DQ'd him after the checkered because he cut turn 1 and it rolled him going backwards. So just know that he did indeed finish 2nd and is inside the top 3.
Okay, I was wondering. I was very confused because I saw him come across P2 and then I'm like, okay, he's there. Why is he not there on the final results?
Yeah, I don't mean to interrupt you in the middle of the broadcast. I just wanted you to know that. So
no,
thank you guys again.
All right, so let's go ahead and I believe we're going to get Jewah in then. Give me one moment. Pull him on down, and we're going to do a quick little interview. If we can get, hold on, I'm having issues pulling Drew down. There we go. He came on down. All right, so there we go. We've got Drew in the booth here with us, driver of the number 4 car. And Drew, a 3rd place finish for you. You moved up 15 spots throughout this race. You got caught up in that lap 1 incident. How was tonight's race for you?
Yeah, it's a little bit of chaos. I mean, like you said, we got caught up in that first lap wreck, and you know, we said if it was a track blocker, we would call it. And you know, I tried to dodge to the left, and I mean to the right, and they kind of just, you know, wrecked that way. So lost my left front, and you know, had to drive back up through the field. You know, I really didn't have Min and Jolene pace, but sorry, Min and Ike pace. But you know, we made the strategy call to save a little bit of fuel as I fly into the catch fence. Saved a little bit of fuel and was able to win halfway there. Yeah, and then just kind of right in, had to catch up to Jolene. We had a little bit better pace than her, what it seemed like to me. But you know, just saving early in that first run, and you know, we were able to finish P3.
Yeah, I will say that strategy call you made to go all the way to the stage break was a great call. Got you not only in the stage win, but gets you playoff points, which is just a huge bonus. Now, granted, you haven't gotten a win yet through the first 2 races, but I think that's not a bad thing. Still plenty of racing to go throughout the season. We've got 8 more races till we hit the playoffs. But tonight's race, like you said, did the best of what was a little bit of a tough situation at first. But looking forward, we've got Phoenix after the winter break, and some other. We've got a mix of tracks, a lot of diversity in this opening schedule, especially these first couple races with Michigan, Eldora. What are you kind of looking forward to for these next couple races?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to no more road courses, if I'm being honest. You know, I like road courses. You know, we won in Long Beach last year, but like, I don't know. Today was tough. You know, when you go green for, you know, 53 straight laps, gets a little bit tiring, especially with road courses. So yeah, like I said, I'm looking forward to, you know, going to more ovals. I'm not really sure how Phoenix is gonna go. Yeah, we were fast there in what is it? In the college, in the CIL. But you know, looking forward to Michigan. We're fast there. Eldora is going to be a bit of a you know, wild card. Charlotte was a wild card. Homestead we were fast, and then we go back to a road course. So you know, the schedule's so diverse, and I'm looking forward to all the different, you know, car track. I mean, to the different type of mile and a half and different sorts of configurations.
Yeah, I love the diversity in the schedule this season. Definitely a wide mix of tracks that we go to, as well as driving styles. But before you head on out to celebrate your 3rd place finish and get ready for our winter break, anybody you would like to thank? Anything else you would like to say?
Yeah, shout out to you guys as always in the broadcast booth. You know, I appreciate everything you guys do. You know, shout out Nexus. You know, we struggled tonight at the beginning of the race. Like I said, you know, qualified P. Well, I didn't qualify technically because you know, that bus stop chicane. But you know, we drove our way up to the field, and we got a great finish. And yeah, we'll be back, and hopefully we get our first win of the season in what, 2-3 weeks time at Phoenix.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you very much, Drew. Congratulations on 3rd place, and we hope you have a good holiday.
Thank you. You too.
All right, so it's Drew Jewah, your three-peat champion, your reigning champion. He finished in 3rd place here tonight. We're going to pull up Min Hang now. He is the driver of the number 2 car, finished in 2nd place here tonight. And Min Hang, you had a great race. You led a good portion of the race, but then about 2/3 of the way through the race, we saw Isaac Shelley. He just had a ton of pace, got around you. What happened with you throughout that part of the race?
Yeah, man, we weren't out in this practice, I think. The track was more slick, and I couldn't quite get turn 1 down. I think I locked it up a couple more times after that. So, I mean, overall, he just had more pace. I think he would have passed me either way. Just, yeah, the bus stop, probably, you know, it was a 1 lane into the bus stop, and he sent it in like super deep, and I was looking back at it, maybe I should have like turned in, we would have both wrecked, but I think we would have both finished 1-2 and thrown the race for the win up in the air, but good for him. Nothing wrong with it.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, you're running a part-time schedule this season for McGinnis Motorsports, correct?
Not full time.
Oh, you're running full-time again?
Yeah, I won't show up for all the races, but I can show up for enough that they classify me full-time, so.
Gotcha.
Basically focus big picture on the championship, so today, not really that big of a deal, honestly.
Well, hey, I mean, P2, you've always been a very strong road course racer, but I asked Drew kind of what races he's looking forward to coming up in the schedule, because we've got a wide range of tracks coming up here shortly, between short track style racing to dirt racing to another road course, some larger intermediate ovals, and the regular 1.5s. Are there any races you've got circled on the schedule to maybe get your second career win?
I know Charlotte for sure. I think I should have won the race last year, so I'm looking to go back and go get some redemption there. Phoenix, I like Phoenix. I should have been good there, but that was before I knew Drew and all these guys that are really good. So, and then a lot of the playoff races actually. I like Darlington, Atlanta. I think I could have won last season, so I think the playoffs are in my wheelhouse this year. So.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. You definitely had a good pace last season. We'll see if you can get back up there this season. But definitely a second place here tonight. A great way to kick things off for the season. I know it's only race 2, but definitely a great start. Before you head on out, though, Min, anybody you would like to thank? Anything else you'd like to say?
No, man. Just looking forward to Phoenix.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us up here in the booth, Min. And congratulations on your second place finish tonight.
Thank you.
That was Min Hang, driver of the 2 car. Now we're going to bring up our race winner, Isaac Shelley. And Isaac, congratulations on the race win. And if I'm not mistaken, this is your first one in the OMA VRC on iRacing, correct?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, you got so close many times last year. We talked to you several different occasions. Just you were never able to get that car into victory lane, but you finally did it here tonight. And it just seems like once you got through that first pit stop, you unlocked something in that 98 car. Take us through a little bit of the race for you.
Yeah, I mean, I blew turn 1 on the start, and I got a really unfortunate penalty like on the restart. There was a bunch of times tonight I kind of cut it close, thought I should have got like a slowdown penalty. I didn't, and then that time in particular, I really didn't think it should have been a slowdown, but lost a bunch of spots. But yeah, it was just nerves, really making mistakes. I knew I was the fastest car. I just had to like calm myself down, and I think after that first pit stop I got myself settled down and knew if I just kept working away at it I was eventually going to get to the Ming. So just really happy to finally get the monkey off my back. I feel like we could have won 3 or 4 races last year and it just never clicked, but yeah, I'm just really happy to finally put it in victory lane, and yeah, hopefully we got more to come this season.
Well, we've got a couple tracks that are kind of in your wheelhouse coming up here soon between Michigan and Charlotte, and even Homestead as well. So definitely some tracks to maybe get you another win or even some top 5 podium spots as well. Good points for sure to really lock in your spot into the playoffs. But I think looking forward, definitely a good run of tracks here on the schedule for you. Do you think we can see the 98 car back in victory lane here soon?
Yeah, I was just kind of looking at the schedule today, and this whole run till the playoffs, I really like the tracks we're going to. So yeah, I think we'll be pretty much competitive everywhere. It's just about executing, and that's what we did tonight. And I think we're definitely going to be able to do it more and more now that I know how to do it.
Yeah, you did a really good job here tonight, and we look forward to see how you do both at Phoenix and Michigan, the next 2 races up on the schedule. But before we head on out and you go to celebrate your race win, anything else you would like to say? Anybody you would like to thank?
Yeah, Eddie for putting this whole thing together with our team. Switching teams, but we're still in a close alliance with McGinnis. And apologize to Ming. I know I kind of forced it there on him, but that was my chance, and I didn't want to let it slip away. So he's a great driver. Have utmost respect for him, and yeah, it was a great battle there. JT, Thomas, Jarrett, for helping me coach me through tonight. And yeah, Tim, Drew for putting this league together. It's a lot of fun to be back racing every week, and you for broadcasting.
All right, well, thank you, Ike, for joining us up here in the booth. Congratulations on your first win this season and your first win since the OMA VRC has shifted over to iRacing.
Yeah, man, thank you. Have a good night.
All right, so that was Isaac Shelley, driver of the 98 machine, your race winner here for tonight. And before we wrap things up, Keith, any last words you would like to say about tonight's race here at the Daytona Road Course?
I mean, I think it's exactly what we expected. It was a lot of good racing, good respectful racing. And I mean, I'm not sure about you, Alex, but this makes me more excited for races like Red Bull Ring or Coda, or even just the next couple of races we got back on the oval. Some of these guys that are a little bit maybe not as good on the road track are going to have maybe more of a push to do better somewhere like Phoenix or Michigan. So just gets me excited for the races that are coming up here. And especially now that we're going to the holiday break, some of these guys are going to maybe be able to put this behind them. You got about 2 or 3 weeks of relax time, and they can come back and maybe take a win at Phoenix.
Yeah, we'll have to see how Phoenix is going to fare. 1 mile track that definitely doesn't drive like a 1 mile track, drives more like a short track without the braking is and everything like that. But we'll kind of have to see how that all goes. But again, that is not going to be until January 6th. We're going to be off the next 2 weekends for the holiday break. So I want to take the moment to thank all of you guys for joining us here at Racing Lights Productions for the Battle at the Beach with the Online Motorsports Association Virtual Racing Championship. Congratulations to Isaac Shelley for getting his first win, which I actually just got word that is his first win since Season 4 in the VHS at the Charlotte Roval. So it has been a long time coming for Isaac Shelley since he has gotten to that car into victory lane. But a huge congratulations goes to him for getting tonight's dominant win. But like I said, our next race won't be until January 6th, so make sure you check out on Twitter when we're going to be live with that broadcast. You can also catch the Online Motorsports Association over on their Twitter at OMA_league, and you can see all the information with all of their leagues over there as well. Thank you guys for joining us up here in the booth. My name is Alex Light, joined with Keith Brubaker yet again. It's been a blast bringing this race to you, and I just want to say happy holidays to you, no matter what holiday you celebrate. Make sure you take time to enjoy family and everybody who means something to you, those that are most important and closest to you. Make sure you take time with them as well during this holiday season. Thank you again for joining us here for the broadcast, and I want to say good night to you from Racing Lights Productions and the virtual Daytona International Speedway. Have a good one.